Chapter 311. Ouyang Guangxing left with Qin Wentian and the other two, leaving behind the crowd of onlookers who exchanged glances of dismay. Because of Ouyang Guangxing's interference, Qin Wentian wasn't punished in the slightest. This was probably the most intense humiliation Ouyang Ting had ever suffered in her life. She bit her lips, her countenance ashen, as traces of blood seeped out from between her lips. Duan Qingshan's silhouette moved like the wind, appearing beside Ouyang Ting. Stretching his hands out, he gently stated, "He will pay the price." Ouyang Ting heavily nodded. "If I don't kill him, I won't have the face to face others." She, Ouyang Ting, was a young miss of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. A true descendant of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. If this matter were to spread out, how would she be able to face others? Ouyang Ting. The old man in the air glanced over. Ouyang Ting inclined her head, her eyes flickering with coldness, causing the old man to silently shake his head. "Cultivate well, that's the most important thing. Qingshan, you two. See if you can break through to Heavenly Dipper this year. If you can't, at the end of the year, you'll still have a chance to become a ranker in the Heavenly Fate rankings." Yes. Duan Qingshan maintained his elegant demeanor, holding on to Ouyang Ting's hand as he bowed to the old man. He was different from Ouyang Ting. He wasn't a member of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. He was very clear of his own status, and if he wanted to obtain a higher position, he had to become stronger than all the other direct descendants of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. "Everyone disperse." The old man waved his hands as the crowd dispersed. However, news of this matter soon circulated around. Some sighed in admiration while others rejoiced. This Ouyang Ting had tormented many people before. Ouyang Guangxing brought Qin Wentian and the rest to his residence, located at the highest point of the castle. This residence was as vast as an ordinary clan's residence. At this moment they were seated on a patch of grass, and at the edge of the grass, they could see the scenery of the Azure continent from afar, as though they were looking down on all the mountains. This concept tsk. Fatty Fan Lu sighed in admiration upon seeing this. This was what status was. The maids in the residence were all extremely beautiful, causing Fan Li's eyes to shine. "What's your cultivation base?" After Ouyang Guangxing sat down, he stared at Qin Wentian as he asked his first question. As for the matter regarding Ouyang Ting, it was as though he had already forgotten about it. "5th level of Yuanfu, 1 level lower than you." Qin Wentian naturally saw through Ouyang Guangxing's cultivation base. It was at the 6th level of Yuanfu. Given Ouyang Guangxing's background and talent, this was a very normal thing. If he didn't cultivate divine inscriptions, he should have already reached the 6th level by now. "You can even see through my realm?" Ouyang Guangxing stared at Qin Wentian as though he was looking at a freak. But soon after, a bright light flickered in his eyes as he laughed. "Luckily, my cultivation base is higher than yours. However, since you were able to defeat Ouyang Ting under such circumstances, your combat prowess shouldn't be at the 5th level of Yuanfu, right? If I go all out, I should be able to fight someone 2 levels above me. Of course, that also depends on who I am dealing with. After all, I am not the only one who can fight someone of a higher level." Qin Wentian mumbled in a low voice. He had sparred with Chu Meng frequently, and conservatively speaking, he should be able to fight against someone 2 levels higher than him. But if he were to fight against someone 3 levels higher, the difficulty would be exceedingly high. Most probably, he would have to use all of his trump cards. After all, the disparity between their astral energy levels was simply too great. Luckily, he had 3 Yuanfu to make up for it. Not only that, Qin Wentian's cultivation base was at the 8th level of Yuanfu, and the 1st level of mandates were all at the transformation boundary. Qin Wentian didn't have much of an advantage. "Consider yourself ruthless." Ouyang Guangxing rolled his eyes. This fellow could fight against someone 2 levels higher than him. Although Qin Wentian was only at the 5th level of Yuanfu, but since he said so, he should be able to defeat someone at the 7th level of Yuanfu. "You should have come to the Azure continent earlier. Where did you go after bidding farewell to Chu?" Ouyang Guangxing was extremely curious about Qin Wentian's experiences. "I don't know where to start." Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. After which, he recounted his experiences after leaving Chu, causing Ouyang Guangxing to sigh in admiration. Especially after knowing that Qin Wentian was actually a fourth-rank divine inscriptionist, Ouyang Quangxing stared at Qin Wentian as though he was looking at a freak. Fourth-rank divine inscriptionist, this was too much of a blow to his heart. Qin Wentian's status wasn't any lower than ordinary Heavenly Dipper sovereigns. Not only that, Ouyang Quangxing knew that Qin Wentian was even younger than him. Qin Wentian's achievements in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions had temporarily suppressed his talent in the martial path. You said that you want to step into the top 3 of the Heavenly Fate rankings? Ouyang Quangxing stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian didn't reveal the matter regarding the Azure faction to Ouyang Quangxing. After all, this matter was of great importance. Although he trusted Ouyang Quangxing, there was no need for him to reveal it. I have to. Qin Wentian nodded his head. There's a chance at the end of this year. However, it's only a year's time, it won't be easy. Ouyang Quangxing's eyes flickered. This year was the 3rd year of the Heavenly Fate rankings, and the attention of the entire Granxia would be focused on the Ginkgo continent. Countless heavens chosen of the younger generation would be gathered there, and this was definitely the best opportunity. If one missed this opportunity, the only way to enter the top 3 of the Heavenly Fate rankings was to find the top 3 rankers and defeat them head-on. However, if that was the case, it wouldn't be as grand as the event at the end of the year. What do you mean? Qin Wentian inquired. Have you heard of the ancient kingdom of Granxia? Ouyang Quangxing asked Qin Wentian. I've heard of it before, but I heard that the current ancient kingdom is far from what it was in the past. Qin Wentian nodded. That's right. Back then, the ancient emperor of Granxia unified Granxia and controlled the entire world. His prestige were so great that everyone in this vast land was willing to submit to him. But after that, the ancient emperor underwent a huge change and the ancient emperor split up, forming countless transcendent powers. These transcendent powers occupied the 9 most flourishing cities of Granxia, and that was how the 9 prefectures of today are. Ouyang Quangxing slowly continued. Right now, only a single bloodline of the ancient emperor of Granxia remains. But even so, the people of Granxia would still pay homage to the ancient emperor. Every 3 years, the Yuanfu realm cultivators of Granxia would pay homage to the ancient emperor, vying for the fate of the ancient emperor. The Venerate Heaven sect will completely rearrange the Heavenly Fate rankings, and this year will be the 3rd year. However, we only have a year's time. Right now, my cultivation base is at the 6th level of Yuanfu, while yours is at the 5th level. If we want to go to the ancient emperor at the end of the year, we would need to raise our strength by leaps and bounds. Ancient emperor, a year's time. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. This was indeed an extremely difficult challenge. Right now, the Heavenly Fate rankings were all eyeing him like a tiger eyeing its prey. As long as he didn't break through to Heavenly Dipper, he would still be able to fight for a better ranking. Qin Wentian was also very clear that it wasn't so easy to break through to Heavenly Dipper. This was a hurdle for stellar martial cultivators. Seems like I have a chance to try. I definitely have to go to the ancient emperor. An expression of excitement flashed past Chu Meng's face. His current cultivation base was at the 7th level of Yuanfu, and as long as he put in some effort, he should be able to break through to the 9th level in a year's time. Who are you guys talking about? Contending for the Heavenly Fate rankings? A voice drifted over, only to see a beautiful silhouette walking over from afar. A mischievous smile flickered on her face as she surveyed Qin Wentian and the others. Are these the ones who caused such a commotion outside? The ones who humiliated Ouyang Ting? Xiaolu, come over here, let me introduce you guys. These are my friends Qin Wentian, Fan Lu and Chu Meng. Ouyang Quangxing smiled at the young lady as he continued. And this is my younger sister, Ouyang Xiaolu. How beautiful. Fan Lu laughed. Ouyang Xiaolu had a tall and slender figure, with soft curves and skin as white as snow. She was around 18 or 19 years of age, and her beauty contained hints of cuteness and mischievousness. Thank you, but your eyes are so lecherous. You must be a lecherous fellow. Ouyang Xiaolu surveyed Fatty Fan Lu as she giggled. Momentarily, Fan Li's face was filled with black lines as he smiled. Fatty, I'm very innocent. Qin Wentian, who was standing at the side, almost felt disgusted. He rolled his eyes, completely speechless at this Fatty. I don't believe it. Ouyang Xiaolu laughed. After which she turned to Qin Wentian, you guys sure have guts. Ouyang Ting has never been beaten before. Yet you guys actually dared to make her kneel. I think you guys are in for it, she will definitely not let you off. Stay at my place, they won't dare to do anything. Ouyang Quangxing casually replied. I know you're powerful. Ouyang Xiaolu rolled her eyes at Ouyang Quangxing. Let's not talk about this anymore. Follow me, I'll bring you guys to a good place. Ouyang Quangxing seemed to have suddenly thought of something as his eyes shone with a brilliant light. Noticing his expression, Ouyang Xiaolu blinked as she pointed at Ouyang Quangxing. You want to bring them there? My younger sister understands me the best. Ouyang Quangxing ruffled Ouyang Xiaolu's hair before gesturing to Qin Wentian and the rest. The group then soared into the air, flying towards the horizon. Qin Wentian and the rest were extremely curious. They didn't know where Ouyang Quangxing was bringing them. After a long period of time, Qin Wentian arrived at a mountain range. There was actually a mountain range within the Azure continent. This region was like a secluded domain, not within the Azure continent. Qin Wentian stared at the huge gate in front of him. There were 3 words engraved on it, ancient and vigorous, as though dragons and phoenixes were dancing in the wind. Unmatched realm, unmatched? What an arrogant tone. Where is this place? Qin Wentian curiously inquired. Ouyang Quangxing laughed as he continued walking forwards. The huge gate opened, and the group of them stepped in. The scenery before Qin Wentian's eyes was like that of an otherworldly realm. In front of them there was a celestial mountain surrounded by clouds, and in the vicinity, there was a pavilion with flowing water. There were several silhouettes of youths present, and as they stared in the direction of Qin Wentian, their eyes flashed with a strange light. Ouyang Quangxing, you actually brought outsiders here? A voice drifted over. The eyes of the youths all shone with a divine charm, and when they stared at Qin Wentian, their eyes gleamed with sharpness. What a powerful aura. Although these people are all youths, they all exude the aura of an aristocrat clan. What kind of place is this unmatched realm exactly? Qin Wentian curiously mused. Very soon they won't be outsiders anymore. Ouyang Quangxing laughed. Is that so? Do you really think that these 3 will be able to enter the unmatched realm? What kind of place do you think the unmatched realm is? Another person coldly laughed. The unmatched realm of the Azure continent, the holy land of geniuses. The vast majority of the rankers on the Heavenly Dipper and Heavenly Fate rankings had all been to the unmatched realm before. Chapter 312. Just as Qin Wentian was feeling curious, a silhouette abruptly appeared in the air. This silhouette stood there arrogantly, exuding an imposing aura. He swept his gaze over to Qin Wentian and the others as he asked, the 3 of you, do you wish to attempt the unmatched realm gate? Yes. Ouyang Quangxing nodded his head to Qin Wentian and the rest. This place is filled with geniuses. Only by passing the unmatched realm gate can one cultivate in the unmatched realm. There are some extremely terrifying characters in the unmatched realm. We have to pass it no matter what. Right. Qin Wentian and the others nodded their heads. Ouyang Quangxing naturally wouldn't lie to them. Yes. Staring at the silhouette in the air, Qin Wentian spoke. Momentarily the silhouette stomped on the ground, causing a thunderous boom to echo out. In an instant an illusory city rose up from the ground, as terrifying rumbling sounds echoed out. The silhouette in the air then spoke. After entering the unmatched realm, the 3 of you will be separated. You will have to depend on your own strength, and if you fail, you are not allowed to enter the unmatched realm ever again. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered as he stared at the ancient gate in front of him. I'll go first. As the sound of his voice faded, his silhouette flickered as he stepped into the unmatched realm gate. Fan Lu and Chu Meng's countenances also flickered as they stepped into the unmatched realm gate, vanishing from the vision of the crowd. At the instant they entered, countless silhouettes appeared in the surroundings. These people all had extraordinary demeanors, unexcelled in the world. If Qin Wentian was here, he would have discovered that there were even some familiar faces among these silhouettes. Back then, in the refinement grounds of the immortal realm, he fought side by side with Ouyang Quangxing, and encountered many powerful characters. Shiki from the Beast King Hall, Yao Sheng from the Sky Demon Sect, Wang Xiao from the War Continent, all of them were extremely powerful characters. And now, all of them had appeared here, staring at the unmatched realm gate. It's been a long time since someone came here to attempt the unmatched realm gate. I wonder which clan they are from? Someone asked. No idea, I think they came together with Ouyang Quangxing and his sister. Ouyang Quangxing? Wang Zhao's eyes flickered as he stared at Ouyang Quangxing. Ouyang, did you bring someone here to embarrass yourself? Ouyang Quangxing inclined his head, staring at Wang Xiao in the air as he laughed. Wang Xiao, you should be acquainted with this man as well. Back then in the refinement grounds of the immortal realm, you were the one who suffered a miserable defeat. Wang Xiao frowned and said, it's him. How's his cultivation going? I hope he doesn't disappoint me. 5th level of Yuanfu. Ouyang Quangxing casually replied, as though he didn't care at all. Wang Zhao's eyes flickered as he replied in a cold voice, 5th level of Yuanfu, not bad. Let's hope he can pass the unmatched realm gate. Only then will there be people who can play with him. Haha, I won't disappoint you. Ouyang Quangxing laughed. This Wang Xiao was from the transcendent power of the war continent, the Wang clan. The Wang clan was proficient in the art of weaponsmithing, and they were extremely wealthy in the war continent. Currently, Wang Zhao's cultivation base was also at the 6th level of Yuanfu. His aura was extraordinary, and just a single glance at him would cause people to feel a sense of sharpness, as though he himself was a divine weapon. Ouyang Quangxing, since you know who he is, why did you still dare to bring him to the unmatched realm? In the unmatched realm we can't kill or cripple people, but I will definitely torture him to death. Shiki bared his fangs, his eyes flashing with a malevolent light. He exuded the bestial nature of a demonic beast, and was extremely violent. Wang Xiao, who are you? A beautiful lady walked to the side of Wang Xiao as she inquired. Qiao Xian. Back then, I met a fellow who joined forces with Ouyang Quangxing to snatch the Celestial Lake baptism from the Celestial Lake Palace. Wang Xiao replied. Qiao Xian was an expert from the transcendent power of the Azure Continent, the Mystic Maiden Palace. Her talent was extraordinary, and she was nurtured as a heaven's chosen. After Wang Xiao became acquainted with her, he started to pursue her, and now he had already managed to win her heart. Unmatched realm, Azure Continent. Not only were the geniuses of the Azure Continent willing to come here, even the transcendent powers of the 9 continents were willing to join the unmatched realm. In the unmatched realm, there were many immortal caves and residences. There were several old men sitting within. At this moment, they slowly opened their eyes as they stared at the mountain rampart in front of them. Numerous images appeared in their minds. These images were none other than the scenes of Qin Wentian, Fan Lu and Chu Meng in the unmatched realm. There's actually another batch of people trying to barge into the unmatched realm, and this time around there are 3 of them. I wonder if there will be any surprises among them. Within one of the residences, an old man murmured in a low voice, after which he closed his eyes, as though he couldn't see what was happening in front of him. After Qin Wentian stepped into the unmatched realm, he instantly appeared in a separate space. This space was like a mountain rampart, with no view of the outside world. In front of Qin Wentian, a 3rd-ranked puppet appeared. It stared at Qin Wentian as it stated, "Little brat, this is the first barrier of the unmatched realm. My cultivation base is equal to yours. If you wish to pass through, you are not allowed to use any innate techniques or techniques. Just use brute force to crush me. Right?" Qin Wentian nodded. "You can borrow the power of your mandate to infuse it into your strength. Little brat, don't be too confident. My strength is sufficient to shock you." The voice of this puppet was filled with an air of seniority, as though it was lecturing a junior. Most probably, the creator of this puppet was an old fellow. Qin Wentian nodded his head as he advanced forward. The puppet continued standing there, and just as Qin Wentian was about to reach it, the puppet abruptly punched out. With a thunderous boom, a terrifying pressure bore down on Qin Wentian's body. At the same instant, Qin Wentian also made his move. A simple and unadorned punch blasted out, filled with an overwhelming might. Mandate. Qin Wentian released his mandate of force. Currently, his mandate of force had already reached the transformation boundary, increasing his strength by 8 times. Pung! Terrifying forces collided against each other, yet neither of them moved. That was because the puppet directly collapsed onto the ground, roaring, "Little brat, I won't let you off." A faint smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he walked past the collapsed body of the puppet. Bastard! Little brat, you're dead for sure. The howls of rage drifted over from behind, yet Qin Wentian continued advancing forward. After entering another cavern, Qin Wentian saw a pair of sinister eyes staring at him. He inclined his head and stared at the mountain rampart, only to see numerous terrifying demonic wolves glaring at him. These demonic wolves were all black in color, and were gleaming with a faint black light. All of them were 8th level demonic beasts, equivalent to Wuxiu at the middle 3rd level of Yuanfu. This aura, these demonic wolves should all be at the peak of the 5th level of Yuanfu. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over and instantly sensed the aura of the demonic wolves. After which, a pitch-black luster flickered as the demonic wolves all lunged towards Qin Wentian, transforming into shadows of darkness. Boom! Qin Wentian took a step forward as waves of demonic qi gushed forth from him. His will of force gushed forth, and in an instant, the entire space was filled with a powerful demonic qi as well as a sense of power. Bzzz! A raging wind gusted by as Qin Wentian dashed forward, only to see a demonic wolf spitting out a terrifying black spear that pierced towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian punched out in rage, shattering the black spear. The sharp claws of the demonic wolf appeared, grabbing towards Qin Wentian's arm. Bang! That terrifying strength directly crushed the demonic wolves into dust. Qin Wentian didn't slow down at all as he dashed forward. Terrifying rumbling sounds echoed through the air as the demonic wolves in front of him were all crushed into nothingness. In just a short instant, Qin Wentian had already passed through the mountain rampart, and he didn't even turn his head back as he continued forward. This strength, I like it, but it's still not enough to satisfy my requirements. In a cave dwelling in the unmatched realm, a muscular man whose entire body exuded an explosive aura stared at the projection in front of him. His eyes were fixated on Qin Wentian, only to see that Qin Wentian had already reached the 3rd checkpoint. This time around, the one who obstructed him was a long-armed ape with gigantic arms, blocking the narrow pathway of the cave dwelling. However, he only saw that Qin Wentian's silhouette directly dashed forward, and without any hesitation, he punched out, aiming for the long-armed ape. So ferocious? The muscular man's eyes widened as he stared at the scene in front of him. Qin Wentian was an entire level higher than Qin Wentian, yet he didn't rely on any innate techniques, directly suppressing him with brute force. The strength of this long-armed ape was definitely at the peak of the 6th level of Yuanfu. Even experts whose mandates had already broken through to the advanced boundary wouldn't be able to withstand its attacks. However, in the next instant, his eyes widened as he saw the long-armed ape violently slamming into the wall. The violent long-armed ape no longer had any temper as it obediently allowed the young man to walk past it. This brat, I'm going to subdue him, the burly man roared, his voice causing the entire cave dwelling to tremble. This caused the other experts in the cave dwellings to open their eyes impatiently. That bastard has his eyes on a brute strength expert? But what's the use of brute strength? But very quickly their views changed, because they saw that Qin Wentian consecutively broke through 6 checkpoints, and not only that, he didn't even pause for a moment. He used brute strength to break through all the checkpoints. Such a level of difficulty was extremely rare. With the 5th checkpoint, Qin Wentian already had the qualifications to enter the unmatched realm. With the 6th checkpoint, many people started to pay attention to it. With the 7th checkpoint, some of the old fellows started to get serious. It was extremely rare for someone to be able to break through all 7 checkpoints. When Qin Wentian broke through the 8th checkpoint, the eyes of many of the old fellows lit up. Fighting against someone 2 levels higher than him, he would definitely be able to suppress them. This was truly a great honor. They wondered which transcendent power he was from. Only 2 checkpoints left? At this moment, many of the old fellows in the cave dwellings started to open their eyes. The 9th checkpoint was already the second last checkpoint. The difficulty of the test that Qin Wentian faced was equivalent to 3 cultivators at the peak of the 7th level of Yuanfu. Outside the unmatched realm, several silhouettes stood in the air, waiting calmly. They didn't know if one of the 3 cultivators would be able to pass. Now the time limit was still very short. The longer one stayed inside, the more trials they could pass, and the more outstanding they would be. Ouyang Quangsheng, I hope that friend of yours can stay longer. If he comes out too early, It would be too shameful if not even a single one of the elders from the unmatched realm appeared. Wang Xiao coldly stated. After passing the checkpoints, they still needed to see how many elders from the unmatched realm would appear. This meant that there were a few people who wanted to recruit them into their sections. Many times, the elders from the unmatched realm wouldn't even appear, and would only allow them to head up the mountain to pay their respects. Unless there were some outstanding characters that attracted the attention of the elders. Chapter 313. Ouyang Quangxing inclined his head and stared at Wang Xiao, his eyes flickering with arrogance and disdain. Wang Xiao, back then when you entered the unmatched realm, how many people came out? Ouyang Quangxing coldly asked. He naturally knew the answer. 3 people. Wang Xiao proudly replied. The old fellows of the unmatched realm were all extremely lazy, they didn't even accept disciples. It was already a great favor for them to cultivate under them. Although many people had the qualifications to enter the unmatched realm, they had no way to become a disciple of one of those old fellows. The old fellows here were all truly capable fellows. And it was precisely because of this that the geniuses of the Azure continent were able to gather here. Even geniuses from outside the Azure continent were willing to travel tens of thousands of miles to come here. Back then, Wang Xiao managed to convince 3 people to appear, wanting to accept him as a disciple. However, Wang Xiao refused. Later on, he followed an extremely famous unparalleled elder to cultivate, wanting to become his disciple. I don't think I'll be any less than you. Ouyang Quangxing coldly laughed, his words causing Wang Xiao's countenance to stiffen. He stared back at Ouyang Quangxing. I'll wait and see then. Far away within the ancient mountains, immortal qi lingered about. Within the cavern residences, the people of the unmatched realm couldn't even find the existence of these cavern residences, even if they wanted to. But at this moment, there were many people staring intently at the projection in front of their eyes. This was the situation within the unmatched realm. The unmatched realm was located within a formation, and they could see the situation inside the formation from within. At this moment, the eyes of many of the old fellows gleamed with sharpness. He passed the 9th checkpoint. These people exclaimed in their hearts. They had personally witnessed Qin Wentian stepping into the 10th checkpoint, while the other 2 were stuck at the 5th and 6th checkpoints. The eyes of the crowd gleamed with sharpness. In the 10th checkpoint, there were 18 demonic beasts at the peak of the 7th level of Yuanfu. Not only that, they were all extremely ferocious astral war beasts. Each and every one of them wanted to tear him apart. However, they only saw the young man crazily defending, occasionally attacking. The astral energy erupting from his body was extremely terrifying. It was as though he had unleashed a horde of innate techniques. What was even more shocking was that Qin Wentian was inscribing a peak-tier 3rd-rank defensive divine inscription. He wanted to stabilize his stance first. Damn it, he actually managed to block it, roared the burly man, causing the entire Immortals cave to tremble. This guy is just too much to my liking. Depressing, too depressing. There's definitely no chance. Naturally, he could tell how strong Qin Wentian was. But now what Qin Wentian displayed wasn't merely his strength. Wasn't the speed at which he inscribed 3rd-rank divine inscriptions a little too fast? Most probably, that old fellow wanted Qin Wentian for sure. Qin Wentian couldn't compete with him. In another cave dwelling, a rather lazy old man stared at the situation before him. His rather lazy body casually leaned against the mountain wall, but his narrowed eyes shone brilliantly. A single stomp from his foot is already an initial grade 3rd level divine inscription. This speed is much faster compared to me back then. The old man's eyes shone with a bright light. Not too long later, the divine inscriptions started to merge together, becoming stronger and stronger. The initial stage 3rd-rank divine inscriptions transformed into peak stage 3rd-rank defensive divine inscriptions, and finally peak stage 3rd-rank defensive divine inscriptions. This old man wants Qin Wentian. Later on, none of you are allowed to compete with me. The old man roared, causing the surrounding mountains to tremble. Even the cave dwellings of those people trembled. Someone cursed in a low voice, shameless old fogey, using such a forceful method again. Shameless, shameless, who are you talking about? A voice rang out in the cave dwelling of the person who spoke. That person immediately replied, old brother, I'm just joking. I won't go out, I definitely won't go out. He passed, the 10th checkpoint was also passed by him. The crowd saw that the divine inscriptions were unstoppable, growing stronger and stronger. Faintly, the might of 4th-rank divine inscriptions could be felt, forcibly breaking through the 10th checkpoint. Why hasn't he gone out yet? What is the gatekeeper doing? However, when they saw another silhouette appearing beside Qin Wentian, their eyes all froze. She actually went into the formation? The people in the cave dwellings seemed to have thought of something. They all turned their heads, their gazes piercing through the mountain walls, staring at the misty mountain peak in the distance. Did he notice this? Qin Wentian was astonished as well. He stared in bewilderment at the silhouette in front of him. She was clad in a robe that seemed to be woven from snowflakes, pure white. However, the snow-white robe didn't cause her skin to appear any different. On the contrary, it seemed to be the most beautiful combination. Her skin was as white as snow, as though it would melt with just a light touch. There were traces of coldness radiating from her. Her demeanor was somewhat similar to Qing, but there were also some differences. The woman in front of her was like a snow lotus on a mountain of ice, while Qing was like an otherworldly being. Although the maiden in front of him was very beautiful, Qin Wentian still felt that Qing was prettier. After all, the fact that he was able to compare her to Qi had already proven that the maiden in front of him was extremely beautiful. For example, although Qin Wentian felt that Ouyang Ting was beautiful, if he compared her to Qing, that kind of beauty would simply be too tacky. Among all the women that Qin Wentian had seen before, only Qingqing's beauty was different from Qing-er's. When she was 15 or 16, she was already the #1 beauty in Chu. Every frown and every smile of hers was enough to topple empires. As for the cultivation base of the maiden in front of him, she was only at the 8th level of Yuanfu. Don't borrow the power of your divine inscriptions. Fight against me with all your might, I won't hold back. The maiden's voice was as cold as her personality. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. The feeling this maiden gave him was that unless she was beautiful, she would definitely be stronger than Yang Fan's fiancé, Xu Ruanyu. Rumble. Qin Wentian's aura instantly erupted forth. Demonic qi, bloodline power, mandate of mandate, all erupted at the same time. At this moment his entire person exuded an unstoppable aura, akin to that of a terrifying gigantic beast. As the demonic qi swept past, Qin Wentian's silhouette instantly appeared in front of his opponent. A terrifying dragon imprint erupted forth from his palms, and his gaze swept over, piercing into his opponent's eyes. His terrifying mandate of mandate gushed forth, yet he felt as though he was standing in the middle of a snow-covered aristocrat clan. A single glance from his opponent caused him to feel a bone-piercing chill. His opponent's mandate of mandate directly rushed into his eyes, penetrating into his body. How powerful! This is the mandate of a mandate at the perfection boundary. Qin Wentian could feel the coldness in his entire body. His opponent's mandate of mandate had already transcended the transformation boundary, stepping into the perfection boundary. Next, he should be comprehending the second mandate of mandate, in preparation for his breakthrough to Heavenly Dipper. However, his opponent's cultivation base was only at the 8th level of Yuanfu, far from the peak of Yuanfu. Yet, his mandate of mandate had already reached the perfection boundary. Regardless of how strong his opponent was, Qin Wentian's battle intent didn't waver in the slightest. He stared straight at his opponent, unleashing a frenzied dragon imprint as the divine energy within his body frenziedly erupted forth. Pung! The terrifying attacks collided with each other. An extremely cold aura gushed forth from Qin Wentian's arms into his body, as a layer of frost instantly covered his entire body. Given his opponent's cultivation base in addition to the mandate of mandate at the perfection boundary, just the release of a single mandate of mandate was already comparable to those at the 9th level of Yuanfu. Since his opponent was able to achieve the perfection boundary of a single mandate, it was evident that his comprehension ability was also extremely high. Although Qin Wentian wasn't in a good state, the power of his attack caused the countenance of the female to change slightly. She felt that this 5th level Yuanfu cultivator was akin to an undefeatable beast. Even a 7th level Yuanfu cultivator wouldn't be able to give her such a feeling. Boom! Qin Wentian blasted out with his left palm, containing yet another surge of terrifying might. The countenance of the female froze. She twisted her palms and instantly, the frost around Qin Wentian intensified, causing him to feel as though he was about to be buried within the ice. After which, she waved her hands in front of her as an ancient shield of ice appeared in front of her. Qin Wentian's attack directly shattered the shield, but the female merely pointed her finger forward as a terrifying blizzard manifested, engulfing Qin Wentian. Cold. At this moment, Qin Wentian was so cold that his entire body was trembling. It felt as though his Yuanfu was about to be frozen solid. Mandates could be divided into 4 levels: initial boundary, advanced boundary, transformation boundary, and perfection boundary. The perfection boundary was the foundation for one to step into the second level of mandates. It was many times stronger than the transformation boundary. Qin Wentian knew that he wasn't a match for his opponent, yet he still pierced through the air with a finger strike. The terrifying demonic qi he exuded caused the ice and snow in the air to tremble. A violent surge of energy ravaged Qin Wentian, forcing him to retreat. The female also halted her attack. She stared at Qin Wentian as a strange light flashed in her eyes, after which she stated in a low voice, "Your combat prowess is very strong." After speaking, she turned and departed, vanishing from Qin Wentian's sight, as though she had never appeared before. The silhouettes in the cave all quietened down. This fellow was actually able to withstand her attack and was still able to stand there unscathed. His overall combat prowess was extremely high. A bright light flashed as Qin Wentian's silhouette appeared outside. At this moment he was floating in the air. Beneath his feet was the trial of the unmatched realm. Fan Lu and Chu Meng had yet to exit. "Oh, it's so cold," Qin Wentian mumbled in a low voice. His body was still covered in ice and snow. Inclining his head, he discovered that there were several people staring at him from the air. Involuntarily, a strange expression appeared on his face. "How fast?" Wang Xiao smiled. The time Qin Wentian took to enter the unmatched realm was truly short. Not only that, his body was still covered in ice and snow, causing him to shiver uncontrollably. How interesting. Wang Xiao's gaze turned to the ancient mountain in the distance. Not a single silhouette appeared, it was extremely quiet. Many of the youths were staring in that direction, yet not a single silhouette appeared. This scene caused Ouyang Quangxing to furrow his brows. Something was wrong. Could it be that Qin Wentian had lied to him? How was this possible? As for Wang Xiao, a cold and disdainful smile appeared on his face. Not even a single silhouette appeared. Back then when we parted, Qin Wentian had already fallen to such a state. To think that you, Ouyang Quangxing, are still bragging about him. Wang Xiao faintly stated. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at Wang Xiao, naturally recognizing him. Not even a single silhouette appeared. What did this mean? Chapter 314. Ouyang Quangxing was puzzled as well. It seemed like there really wasn't any movement. Sweeping his gaze over to the crowd, Ouyang Quangxing felt extremely depressed when he saw the faint smiles in the eyes of the crowd. The smiles on the corners of everyone's mouths seemed to be filled with a faint sense of mockery, as if they were watching a joke. Evidently, they treated Qin Wentian as a joke, and Ouyang Quangxing as a joke as well. In the air, the person controlling the formation turned his gaze onto Qin Wentian. "Congratulations, you've passed the test of the unmatched realm. From now on you can freely enter and exit the unmatched realm. However, you are not allowed to enter the 36 Dao cultivation halls without permission." That person stared at Qin Wentian with a strange expression on his face. This shouldn't be the case. He thought there would be many people coming out. But at this moment there was an abnormal silence. "Many thanks for Senior's guidance." Qin Wentian nodded his head. "Haha, I'm afraid you won't be able to obtain permission." An arrogant laughter rang out, after which Qin Wentian saw a silhouette walking out. It was none other than Shiki, a half-beastman. His physique seemed even more muscular than before. He was now 2 meters tall, and exuded an aura of tyrannical might. With the bloodline of a beast king as his strength grew, his physique would also possess the characteristics of demonic beasts, growing stronger and stronger until he grew into a humanoid beast with boundless strength. Seems like the unmatched realm is truly an extraordinary place. The distance between the Demon Continent and the Azure Continent is extremely far. Yet the members of the Beast King Hall in the Demon Continent have all come here to cultivate. Qin Wentian silently mused as he stared at Shiki, his countenance as calm as ever. Today I'm going to teach the newbies a lesson. Remember to abide by the rules in the future. Ouyang Quangxing, you better not interfere in this matter. Shiki grinned as a demonic aura flickered in his eyes. Ouyang Quangxing stared in the air, only to see Qin Wentian looking back at him as he asked, in the unmatched realm, to what extent can one fight reach? As long as you don't kill or cripple them, it's fine. Ouyang Quangxing froze when he saw the calm look in Qin Wentian's eyes, after which a faint smile appeared on his face. Qin Wentian's calm eyes caused him to feel a hint of violence. Oh, Qin Wentian nodded. Right, as long as I don't kill you or cripple you, it's fine. In the future, in the unmatched realm, you better not let me see you again. If not, every time I see you, I'll torture you. Shiki's smile was exceptionally carefree. After that, he took a step forward. His terrifying body trampled on the void, causing the entire space to sink as a surge of violent energy pervaded the air. Gotcha! Shiki raised his arm and clenched his fist, causing a formless energy to condense. Everyone in the air crossed their arms in front of their chests, quietly watching the show. Based on Shiki's strength, he should be able to make Qin Wentian, who was at the 5th level of Yuanfu, suffer a miserable defeat. Shiki and the others had always been at loggerheads with Ouyang Quangxing. Now that they had the chance to ruthlessly slap Qin Wentian, they naturally wouldn't be polite. Torturing Qin Wentian was undoubtedly the same as slapping Ouyang Quangxing's face. Very swiftly, Shiki appeared in front of Qin Wentian. The spectators only saw him swinging his gigantic arms, akin to a ferocious demonic beast, as he smashed them towards Qin Wentian. That surge of power caused the wind to howl in rage. Even if a mountain were to be smashed apart by Shiki, there was no doubt that Qin Wentian's frail body would be destroyed. Qin Wentian clenched his fist as a terrifying demonic qi gushed forth from it. Qin Wentian's arms were enveloped by the demonic qi, transforming into the arms of a Kirin. His will of mandates erupted forth, infused with divine energy. Similarly, Qin Wentian lifted his arms and smashed them out. Boom! Two terrifying forces collided against each other. Just when the spectators thought that Qin Wentian would be flung through the air, he didn't even move an inch. Instead, his gaze swept towards Shiki as an intense light flickered in his eyes. Shiki's expression stiffened, as though he was about to fall asleep. His consciousness blurred, as though he was about to fall asleep. Pung! Qin Wentian's fist ruthlessly smashed out once more. Shiki groaned in agony as he was forced back explosively. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he instantly caught up to Shiki. Pung, 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 fist after fist smashed out, and under the shocked gazes of the spectators, Shiki let out a blood-curdling screech as fresh blood gushed out from his wounds. His humanoid body was smashed into smithereens, the sight of which was too horrible to look at. In the future, whenever I'm around, it's best that you don't appear. Qin Wentian's emotionless voice rang out. His fist smashed out once more as a thunderous boom echoed out. Shiki's body was flung through the air before he slammed heavily into the ground, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. That powerful half-beastman was now nothing more than a bloody mess. The gazes of the spectators froze. How was this possible? Shiki was a half-beastman, and his body contained the bloodline of the Berserk Beast King. His physique was incomparably tyrannical. Yet Qin Wentian only relied on brute force to crush him? Yet Qin Wentian acted as though nothing had happened. He inclined his head and stared at Wang Xiao as he indifferently stated, I don't really understand your words, but if you want to spar with me, I'm right here. After speaking, Qin Wentian shrugged, as though he didn't put Wang Xiao, who was at the 6th level of Yuanfu, in his eyes at all. This scene caused Wang Xiao's countenance to stiffen. At this moment he stared at Qin Wentian with a strange look in his eyes. But soon after, he coldly laughed, You're only strong? No wonder the peerless sect elders didn't appear. If you don't want to fight, then don't waste your breath. Qin Wentian faintly stated. After which, he no longer looked at Wang Xiao, but instead, shifted his gaze onto Ouyang Quangxing. There were some things he didn't understand yet. The 36 Dao cultivation halls of the unmatched realm all have seniors cultivating there. If you are granted permission, People of the unmatched realm can enter one of the halls and cultivate the martial Tao under the guidance of the seniors there. Ouyang Quangxing slowly continued, the unmatched realm's entrance test is an opportunity for you. The peerless sect elders will be able to observe your performance during the test. And if they're willing, they can invite you to join them. Back then, Wang Xiao had 3 Tao cultivation halls desiring to accept him as a disciple. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered as he understood Qin Wentian's words. In that case, it's very shameful for me to not have a single disciple? A little. Ouyang Quangxing nodded his head, causing Qin Wentian to feel somewhat embarrassed. No wonder these people were looking at him with such discomfort in their eyes. The corners of his lips curled up in a mocking smile. But that shouldn't be the case. He had almost passed all the tests except for the last one. The strength of the female who appeared was simply too strong. Based on his strength alone, there was no way he would be able to win. Could it be that the people here were all capable of fighting someone 3 levels higher than him? Obviously, this wasn't realistic. Fuck. A low voice cursed. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, only to see Fatty Fanlu appearing. An extremely depressed expression could be seen on his face, as though he was extremely uncomfortable inside. Even his robes were a little disheveled. Wasn't the test of the unmatched realm a little too difficult? Who? Chu Meng appeared as well. He drew in a deep breath as he stared at Fan Lu and Qin Wentian. You guys came out as well? Brother Meng, where are you now? Fan Lu asked. The 6th test. Chu Meng replied. What about you? It seems like I Fatty am more talented than you. I've already passed the 7th test. Fan Lu laughed in satisfaction. The power of your bloodline limit is sufficient to amplify your strength. It's only natural that you pass the 6th test. Chu Meng faintly replied. The conversation between the two of them was heard by the crowd, causing many to feel bewildered. Passing the 6th and 7th test was already considered not bad, and after passing the 5th test, one would be able to enter the unmatched realm. The sound of the wind whistling could be heard as a silhouette appeared in the distance. This person exuded an aura of sharpness, and his eyes gleamed with a golden light. His gaze was extremely penetrative, and he was currently staring at Fan Lu. Arrow Emperor, damn, the Arrow Emperor has appeared. The gazes of many sharpened as they stared at Fatty Fan Lu. How could this fellow be so lucky? You're proficient in archery, and have an extremely powerful mental energy. You're extremely suitable to cultivate under me. I can help you perfect your archery techniques. Are you willing to take me as your master? That person spoke to Fan Lu. His words causing Fan Lu to stiffen as he weakly asked, How's your strength? The spectators in the air were all sweating profusely. This damnable fatty was truly shameless. Even Ouyang Quangxing and Ouyang Xiaolu were completely speechless. What a shameless fatty. Someone ranked in the Heavenly Dipper rankings. The Arrow Emperor lightly smiled. Momentarily, Fatty Fan Li's eyes lit up as he bowed. Disciple pays his respects to master. Damn, isn't this damnable fatty's actions too fast? He directly acknowledged a master. The spectators were speechless. Earlier, this shameless fatty was still asking about Qin Wentian's strength. What a joke, someone ranked on the Heavenly Dipper rankings was a character that could be counted on one's finger in Granxia. Fatty regretted asking that question earlier. How could he not hurry up and acknowledge Qin Wentian as his master? There's something I have to make clear first. The unmatched realm is independent from the outside world, and we won't interfere with the affairs of the outside world. If you encounter any trouble outside, I will ignore it. Are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? The Arrow Emperor continued. Fan Lu nodded his head as he smiled. Disciple doesn't want to show off in the outside world. I only want to cultivate the Tao of archery. I hope master will accept me. You little brat, you've already called him your master. How can he not accept you? Another silhouette descended. This person had a gigantic physique and was bare-chested. He turned his gaze onto Chu Meng as he asked, This person's archery techniques are similarly outstanding. Why don't you accept him as well? I know you might like him. Naturally, I'll allow him to enter my Tao cultivation hall. I'll help you guide him in archery. The Arrow Emperor faintly spoke, his words causing the bare-chested figure to grin. You're indeed loyal. Fine. I'll also allow this fatty to enter my Tao cultivation hall. After speaking, he turned his gaze onto Chu Meng. Although you've only reached the 6th level, that's because you're already at the 7th level of Yuanfu. The higher your cultivation base, the harder it is to break through to the next level. Are you willing to take me as your master? Chu Meng is willing, it's just that I'm a little stupid. I hope Senior won't mind. Chu Meng laughed, his words causing the Arrow Emperor and that bare-chested figure to burst out laughing. That bare-chested figure then replied, "No problem, I like those who are a little stupid." The Arrow Emperor and that bare-chested figure both turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian as they sighed. What a pity. Little brat, you can come to my Dao cultivation hall anytime in the future. That bare-chested figure spoke to Qin Wentian. My Dao cultivation hall is also open to you. The Arrow Emperor also spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian to be puzzled. Many in the crowd thought that Qin Wentian's performance wasn't bad, but it wasn't enough to be accepted as a disciple. From afar, a celestial-like silhouette slowly walked over. It was none other than that young lady who resembled a snow lotus on a mountain of ice. Her appearance instantly attracted the gazes of the crowd as their hearts were filled with bewilderment. Why was she here? That young lady slowly walked over, her beautiful eyes staring at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian also noticed her, and he too stared at her. I'm here to inform you that the 36 Dao cultivation halls are all open to you. You can enter any of them at any time to cultivate. The voice of the young lady was like a thunderclap, ruthlessly echoing in the ears of the crowd. The 36 Dao cultivation halls were all open to Qin Wentian. Chapter 315. The maiden's robes were as white as snow. After leaving behind a single sentence, she drifted away, causing the entire area to fall into a state of silence. The 36 mountains, the 36 ancient mountains where the 36 elders cultivated, all had their own Dao cultivation halls. Only those who had the permission of the unparalleled elders could enter the mountains to cultivate. Many of them were only valued by a few elders, while the more powerful ones could enter the Dao cultivation halls at the same time. And for those with outstanding talent, they would be fought over by many to become disciples. However, only those demon-level characters with unparalleled talent would be able to receive such treatment. The unparalleled elders of the 36 mountains were willing to guide them in their cultivation. At least at this moment, other than Qin Wentian, no one else had such treatment. And in the entire unmatched realm, there were only 3 geniuses who had the permission to enter the Dao cultivation halls. And now there was a 4th, and that 4th person was none other than Qin Wentian. Earlier, not a single person had appeared, but now the maiden had left behind such a message. Such a strong contrast gave the crowd a surreal feeling. Especially Wang Xiao, who was still shouting arrogantly not long ago. He felt as though his throat was being choked, as his face alternated between shades of green and white. The words of the maiden were truly a slap to his face. He, Wang Xiao, had 3 unparalleled elders who were willing to accept him as a disciple. Although he rejected them, they still allowed him to enter their Dao cultivation halls. And after that he managed to obtain the permission of 2 other unparalleled elders, allowing him to enter a total of 5 Dao cultivation halls. In the unmatched realm, this could already be considered not bad. However, for Qin Wentian, the 36 mountains were completely open to him. Haha. Ouyang Quangxing was stunned for a moment before he started laughing uproariously. He stared at Qin Wentian with a strange expression as he continued. No wonder none of the unparalleled elders appeared. It's not that they don't want to appear, but rather they want to give you a better opportunity. As long as you are willing, all the unparalleled elders of the 36 mountains will guide you in your cultivation. A faint smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he whispered to Ouyang Quangxing, if that's the case, it shouldn't be too shameful, right? Ouyang Quangxing fiercely glared at Qin Wentian. This fellow was too good at acting. Of course it's embarrassing. How can you compare to a genius like Wang Xiao? Wang Xiao was the one who made the 3 peerless elders appear. Ouyang Quangxing laughed uproariously. Wang Xiao's eyes turned sinister as he coldly stared at Ouyang Quangxing, only to see Ouyang Quangxing staring back at him. Wang Xiao, don't you feel like you're being smacked in the face? Humph, I really want to see how far he can cultivate in the unmatched realm. Wang Xiao coldly snorted, pulling Qiao Xian along as they left. He no longer had the face to stay here any longer. The silhouettes in the air all had expressions of interest on their faces as they stared at Qin Wentian. It seemed as though a monster had appeared in the unmatched realm. Not only that, he was still very young and his strength wasn't that strong. In the unmatched realm, there were many geniuses stronger than Qin Wentian. Alright, come with me. The Arrow Emperor brought Fan Lu away, while the bare-chested figure brought Chu Meng away, heading towards the Dao Cultivation Hall. Ouyang Quangxing watched as the crowd gradually dispersed. He walked to the side of Qin Wentian as he smiled. Looks like Fan Lu and Chu Meng's performances weren't bad either. The Arrow Emperor is an extremely powerful archery expert. Fan Lu has definitely chosen the right person to follow. Senior Qiaolong is also extremely powerful, especially in terms of the power of the axe. Chu Meng is definitely a good choice to follow him. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. As a smile appeared on his face, Qin Wentian, you're in for it this time around. Ouyang Xiaolu giggled as she spoke to Qin Wentian, causing an expression of bewilderment to appear on Qin Wentian's face. Was he in for it? Don't worry, enjoy yourself. Ouyang Quangxing patted Qin Wentian on his shoulders. Qin Wentian stared at the sinister smile on Ouyang Quangxing's face, feeling even more puzzled. The unmatched realm is filled with geniuses. Your cultivation base is only at the 5th level of Yuanfu, yet you've obtained the authority to pass through all 36 halls without any obstructions. I'm afraid this will cause a huge commotion in the unmatched realm. Which genius in the unmatched realm isn't an arrogant character? Don't you feel that you're in for it? Ouyang Xiaolu had a smile that was not a smile on her face as she stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian had an expression of depression on his face. Within the unmatched realm, a figure abruptly opened his eyes, staring at the person in front of him as he asked, You said that there's someone who obtained the authority to pass through all 36 halls? Yes. How's that person? 5th level of Yuanfu. Let's go and take a look. That figure soared up into the air as he soared into the air. At the same time, on the stone rampart of the solitary sword mountain, a young man exuding magnificence could be seen. His long robes fluttered in the wind as several silhouettes stood beside him. Lin Haoyan, this news was personally passed down by her. All 36 halls are open to him. Someone beside him spoke, causing a sharp light to flash in Lin Haoyan's eyes. Lin Haoyan, was a demon-level genius from the Sword Extinction sect. In the future, he would definitely become a Heaven's Chosen of the Sword Extinction sect, fighting his way to the top few rankings of the Heavenly Fate rankings. And now, in the unmatched realm, he had the authority to pass through all 13 halls. At the same moment, in a certain pavilion, there were several young ladies present. These young ladies were all exceedingly beautiful, exuding an extraordinary aura. In the Azure continent, the younger generations of some of the transcendent powers would join hands to barge into the unmatched realm, cultivating together. These young ladies were all geniuses from the Mystic Maiden Palace. The authority to pass through all 36 halls. The eyes of one of the young ladies in the center flickered with a strange light as she stated, I really want to see what capabilities he has, to be able to receive such preferential treatment. After speaking, the young lady stood up. Within the Mystic Maiden Palace, she could be considered as one of the most outstanding characters. Hence, she had also obtained the authority to pass through all 36 halls. In any case, within the unmatched realm, the news of Qin Wentian obtaining the authority to pass through all 36 halls circulated around at the fastest speed. How many geniuses from the Grand Xia Empire had come to the unmatched realm? But before this, only 3 people had obtained the authority to pass through the unmatched realm, and all 3 of them were extremely powerful characters. Now that there was a 4th person, how could the crowd not be shocked? At this moment, Ouyang Quangxing was currently bringing Qin Wentian around to familiarize himself with the environment of the unmatched realm. The unmatched realm was extremely vast, and the numerous ancient mountains exuded a celestial aura. In between the mountains there were all sorts of buildings. Other than the top of the ancient mountains, there were also many great halls and pavilions at the foot of the mountains. In the unmatched realm, there won't be any accommodations arranged for you. You can stay anywhere and cultivate anywhere. The few of them soared through the air as Ouyang Quangxing introduced to Qin Wentian. There are many strange formations in the unmatched realm. You can barge into them to cultivate and temper your strength. There are also many ancient ruins left behind by the ancestors of the unmatched realm, be it cultivation arts or innate techniques. Naturally, the place with the most ancient ruins would be the precipice of Heaven's Moat. There are many ancient ruins left behind by the ancestors of the unmatched realm. Other than that, there are many sword scars in the Sword Scar Mountain. Each and every one of them contains a terrifying sword intent, allowing sword cultivators to comprehend them. The sword extinction sect loves that place the most. The sword scars there were left behind by the ancestors of the unmatched realm, and some were left behind during battles. Oh yes, Chu Meng cultivates in axe techniques. If you have time, you can tell him to go to a place called the Sky Sea Stone Rampart. Over there was once a terrifying character who had comprehended the intent of true martial, and left behind an axe technique that contained boundless might. Even if a Yuanfu cultivator only comprehended a tiny bit of it, they would be able to unleash an overwhelming might, and might even be able to comprehend the second level of their mandates. Ouyang Quangxing and Ouyang Xiaolu slowly introduced the unmatched realm to Qin Wentian, bringing him to various places in the unmatched realm, causing Qin Wentian to sigh in admiration. This unmatched realm was once a place where experts gathered, and there were simply too many treasures left behind. In addition to the fact that the old men of the 36 mountain peaks all had extremely high attainments in the martial path, it was no wonder that countless geniuses would travel tens of thousands of miles to cultivate here. The unmatched realm was a holy land for geniuses to cultivate. Even the geniuses of the transcendent powers would be willing to come here to cultivate. After all, the unmatched realm was different from the transcendent powers in the outside world. The unmatched realm was isolated from the rest of the world, and had no need for vanity or power. It was a place that was truly suitable for cultivation. Once you left the unmatched realm, even if there were teachers here, they wouldn't be able to help you much. The three of them roamed around the unmatched realm for a long time. Qin Wentian saw many ancient ruins, as well as many geniuses here. Cultivators at the 5th level of Yuanfu could be considered the weakest here. Most of the geniuses here were at the 7th or 8th level of Yuanfu. They came here to comprehend their mandates, hoping to break through to the perfection boundary before comprehending the 2nd level of their mandates. Naturally, Qin Wentian also met some geniuses whose cultivation bases he couldn't see through. These people were all at the Heavenly Dipper realm, and all of them looked extremely young, around the age of 30 or so. From this, one could see how high their talent was. And just as Qin Wentian returned to Wu Xiu's residence, a few silhouettes appeared in front of Qin Wentian, causing Ouyang Quangxing to furrow his brows. They're from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect. Ouyang Quangxing stated in a low voice. The silhouettes of this group of people were as swift as the wind, and as they soared through the air, their gazes were fixed on Qin Wentian, who was standing beside Ouyang Quangxing. Let me remind you, in the unmatched realm, other than obtaining the guidance of famous teachers, you can also clash with other geniuses at any time. Since you're already famous, I'm afraid you'll have to face such situations frequently, Ouyang Quangxing added in a low voice, as he stared at the silhouettes in front of him. Newcomer, spar with me. A young man from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect stared at Qin Wentian, as an intense battle intent gushed forth from him. His eyes were filled with lightning, and he exuded a violent aura, as though he could explode forth at any moment. The multidirectional Thunderwind sect is one of the transcendent powers in the Azure continent. This person's name is Lei Yan, and his cultivation base is at the 6th level of Yuanfu. His lightning affinity is extremely powerful, and his attacks are extremely powerful. He can easily defeat cultivators at the 7th level of Yuanfu, Ouyang Quangxing calmly explained, introducing Lei Yan's strength to Qin Wentian. Lei Yan's lips curled up in a faint smile when he heard Ouyang Quangxing's words. He really wanted to see what was so special about this person who obtained the authority to cultivate the 36 mountain peaks. As long as I don't kill him or cripple him, I can do whatever I want? Qin Wentian asked Ouyang Quangxing, his words causing Ouyang Quangxing to roll his eyes. This brother of his was truly arrogant enough. Ouyang Quangxing nodded. Will he use the power of his sect for revenge? Qin Wentian continued asking. Who do you take me, Lei Yan, for? Lei Yan icily replied. Newcomer, you're too arrogant. If I don't wish to encounter such situations frequently, I'll have to be more ruthless. If not, I'm afraid I'll be harassed more often in the future, Qin Wentian mused, before smiling at Lei Yan. Chapter 316. Lei Yan was at the 6th level of Yuanfu, and his astral souls were also lightning-type astral souls, allowing him to control the mandate of lightning. The attack power of lightning was already extremely tyrannical, hence Lei Yan's attacks had always been extremely terrifying. Against ordinary cultivators at the same level as him, he would definitely be able to suppress them. Yet this Qin Wentian in front of him was already a level lower than him, yet he still dared to be so arrogant. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Wentian had obtained the authority to cultivate all 36 halls, Lei Yan wouldn't even have come to look for Qin Wentian. Waving his hands, the experts from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect stepped aside. Ouyang Quangxing and Ouyang Xiaolu also retreated, leaving space for Lei Yan and Qin Wentian. A raging wind gusted by as Lei Yan's body was enveloped by an intense hurricane. The multidirectional Thunderwind sect wasn't only proficient in lightning, there were also many experts who were proficient in the mandate of wind. 2 different wills of mandates erupted forth, as well as his astral souls. Lei Yan regarded Qin Wentian with extreme importance. He wanted to use his overwhelming strength to suppress Qin Wentian, letting him know the price of arrogance. A pair of Garuda wings appeared on Qin Wentian's back as he stood in the air. Despite the raging wind gusting against him, he still exuded an aura as stable as a mountain. At the same time, a surge of demonic qi gushed forth from him. Bz. The raging wind gusted by, as Lei Yan's silhouette was bathed in violet lightning. A terrifying violet sword of lightning appeared in his hands, instantly appearing before Qin Wentian. The lightning sword slashed out explosively, causing terrifying crackling sounds to echo out in the air, enveloping the entire space in front of him. The dispersion of lightning attacks was extremely powerful. Even before the sword landed, Qin Wentian already felt his entire body being suppressed by the mandate of lightning. However, Qin Wentian's physique was extremely strong. Demonic qi gushed forth from him, and with a flip of his palms, his entire arm was enveloped by demonic qi as the roars of dragons could be heard. As the thunder sword slashed down, Qin Wentian's dragon seal fiercely blasted out like a demonic dragon, containing terrifying power. With a loud rumble, the thunder sword and the dragon seal both shattered. Lei Yan roared in rage and a terrifying bolt of lightning shot out from his eyes, pressing down on Qin Wentian's eyes. Qin Wentian's eyes similarly flickered with a terrifying light, incomparably deep and boundless, causing Lei Yan to feel a sense of surrealism. It was as though he was about to enter a dream. In that instant of blurriness, Lei Yan felt as though he had seen a third eye. This third eye swept past the center of Qin Wentian's brows, causing his mind to tremble violently. It was as though a ferocious primordial demonic beast was roaring in his mind. Puchi! Qin Wentian stabbed out with a finger as demonic qi towered up into the skies, permeating the entire space. The countenances of those from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect drastically changed as they howled in rage. Careful! Lei Yan felt a piercing pain in his head, and with a howl of rage, a surge of lightning bloodline erupted forth from his body, causing a towering violet light to radiate from him. However, at the instant this surge of power erupted forth, a finger landed on Lei Yan's chest. Lei Yan only felt as if all the energy in his body had been severed, as an intense pain erupted from his chest. Peng's fist ruthlessly slammed into Lei Yan's head, causing blood to flow from his nose as his head buzzed. Peng peng peng. Punches after punches rained down. Qin Wentian's lightning flames danced wildly in the air. His wings flickered as he soared through the air together with the lightning flames. Every explosion caused the hearts of the spectators to pound violently. Too ruthless. Ouyang Quangxing's eyelids twitched violently. This fellow was too violent. Ouyang Xiaolu rolled her eyes. It seemed like Ouyang Ting was still very fortunate. Stop! Those from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect howled as they chased after Qin Wentian and Lei Yan. With a deafening boom, Lei Yan's body slammed into the experts from the multidirectional Thunderwind sect. When they saw Lei Yan's miserable state, his face was completely deformed, and it was unknown how much blood flowed from his wounds. All of them gritted their teeth as they stared at Qin Wentian with ashen expressions, as though they wanted nothing more than to slice Qin Wentian into 1,000 pieces. Qin Wentian retracted his aura, revealing an innocent expression on his face as he shrugged. He was the one who wanted to fight. Not only that, given the reputation of the multidirectional Thunder Wind sect, I'm sure they wouldn't do something like retaliating against us. Those from the multidirectional Thunder Wind sect were infuriated to the extreme. Not only that, Lei Yan had personally said what did Qin Wentian think of him as? This meant that he wouldn't retaliate against Qin Wentian. At this moment, even Lei Yan himself wanted to take revenge. Sadly, he was so badly beaten up that he couldn't even speak. Although the battle in this space happened very quickly, there were still many spectators who came over to spectate. When they saw Lei Yan being beaten half to death, many of them had a brand new impression of this newcomer. Sparring was risky, it was best not to provoke him. Lei Yan's cultivation base is at the 6th level of Yuanfu, and he also has the power of his bloodline. Even before he could unleash his bloodline, he was already beaten to such a state. This is too tragic. This newcomer must have some special methods that caught Lei Yan off guard. Many in the crowd speculated in their hearts. The battle was too fast. Even those from the multidirectional Thunder Wind sect couldn't see clearly what happened. When the two of them fought, a resplendent light flashed as lightning engulfed everything. Who would be able to see the will of dreams in Qin Wentian's eyes? Even Lei Yan himself thought that it was an illusion. I can only say that Lei Yan is too useless, Lu Shi coldly stated. The multidirectional Thunder Wind sect turned their furious eyes over, only to see an extremely beautiful woman. Lu Shi, are you very strong? At the very least, I wouldn't be beaten to such a state by someone at the 5th level of Yuanfu. Lu Shi was a Heaven's Chosen from the Mystic Maiden Palace. Being a Heaven's Chosen meant that she would definitely become a Heaven's Chosen in the future, contending for the Heavenly Fate rankings. Right now, her cultivation base was at the peak of the 6th level of Yuanfu, and she could step into the 7th level at any time. Not only that, she was extremely beautiful and had many suitors. Beside Lu Shi, there were many beautiful maidens from the Mystic Maiden Palace. Lu Shi was like the moon surrounded by stars. She came here because she wanted to witness the strength of this famous newcomer. Yet she didn't expect to see Lei Yan being beaten up the moment she arrived. Lu Shi's beautiful eyes flickered as she stared at Qin Wentian. Let me spar with you, I want to see if you have the qualifications to ascend to the 36 mountain peaks. I'm not interested in sparring. Qin Wentian shrugged, feeling somewhat depressed. He had already beaten Lei Yan to such a state, yet these fellows were still unwilling to let him off the hook. This was extremely annoying. Even if you're not interested, you still have to spar with me, Lu Shi domineeringly stated. As a Heaven's Chosen, she was already used to such an attitude. Since she was already here, how could it be up to Qin Wentian to make a choice? I won't be polite to women either, you better think this through. Qin Wentian felt somewhat depressed. He could tell with a single glance that his opponent was at the 6th level of Yuanfu. He should be able to suppress anyone at this level. The geniuses of the unmatched realm were all extremely confident in themselves. But for Qin Wentian, how could he not be extremely confident in himself? This kind of self-confidence, in the eyes of others, was nothing more than arrogance. Lu Shi stared at him as a cold smile appeared on her face. You are truly arrogant. After speaking, Lu Shi stepped out as she released her astral souls. At the same time, an intense bloodline aura erupted forth from her body. Lu Shi has the dual attributes of ice and fire. Not only that, her mandate of ice and fire can be infused into her attacks, causing her to be extremely powerful. In addition to her mystical maiden sword, the might of her attacks is truly terrifying. Someone mused. Lu Shi's silhouette flickered as she lunged towards Qin Wentian. The intense ice and fire aura enveloped Qin Wentian's body, causing him to feel extremely uncomfortable. As for Lu Shi at this moment, her entire person seemed to have transformed into a shadow. Wielding a sharp sword in her hands, she resembled a celestial maiden from the 9 heavens, floating in the air. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian closed his eyes. He didn't need to use his eyes to see. A candle flame quietly burned within his body, flickering with a resplendent light. Everything that happened in the external world was imprinted into his mind. Too clear. Lu Shi's movements were extremely quick. Her mystical maiden of the 9 heavens movement technique gave off a marvelous feeling. It was impossible to fathom, as though it contained a special kind of profoundness. He saw Lu Shi's sword slashing towards him, and at the instant it passed by him, the sword was like autumn water, disappearing in an instant. Busy. Qin Wentian moving together with Lu Shi, as though he was walking side by side with her. The demonic qi on his arms towered up the skies, transforming into the arms of a qilin. The divine energy in his body gushed forth as he stabbed out with a single finger. From the perspective of the spectators, Qin Wentian's body was being lacerated by the ice and fire, as though he had already fallen into Lu Shi's attack. But in the next instant, a light piercing sound rang out as the two silhouettes stopped in their tracks. After which, Qin Wentian's finger slammed into Lu Shi's chest. This scene caused the spectators to be dumbfounded. This position. What was even stranger was that Qin Wentian bluntly punched out, slamming into Lu Shi's chest. After which, his silhouette moved like a shadow, sticking close to her as he unleashed a barrage of attacks. Boom, boom, boom. The hearts of the spectators pounded in tandem with Qin Wentian's attacks. Everyone was dumbfounded until Qin Wentian finally stopped. Ouyang Quangxing spat out a single word. Intrepid. Qin Wentian was too intrepid. This fellow was in for it. Treating Lu Shi like this. Lu Shi was a heavens chosen from the mystic maiden palace. She was a combination of beauty and talent, yet he didn't show the slightest bit of tenderness towards her. Let's go. Ouyang Quangxing walked to Qin Wentian's side, pulling him along as they departed. Qin Wentian glanced at Ouyang Quangxing and asked, "What's wrong? You're more ruthless than me, but it's better for us to avoid the limelight for now." Ouyang Quangxing speechlessly replied, "I can still take revenge?" Qin Wentian asked in a depressed tone. "Are you going to reason with the guy who's wooing Lu Shi?" Ouyang Quangxing rolled his eyes. "What you're doing is called destroying a flower." "Fine, let's find a good place to cultivate." Qin Wentian whistled as he sped away. Not long after, they arrived at a place where the mountains and seas intersected. Qin Wentian stood at the edge of a cliff. Below them, the waves of the sea slammed against the cliff as a gust of wind blew past. In front of Qin Wentian, there were traces left behind by many seniors. "What's this?" Qin Wentian stared at the scenery in front of him. "It was left behind by an expert from the demonic realm," Ouyang Quangxing replied. Qin Wentian nodded, as he started inscribing divine inscriptions beneath his feet, causing Ouyang Quangxing to be stunned. Inscribing divine inscriptions? If someone comes for revenge, just toss them into the sea. Qin Wentian inclined his head as a radiant smile appeared on his face, causing Ouyang Quangxing to facepalm. This fellow was even more troublesome than him. Chapter 317. Qin Wentian soon became famous in the unmatched realm. He obtained the authority to cultivate from all 36 halls, defeated Lei Yan in a domineering manner, and ruthlessly crushed Lu Shi from the mystic maiden palace. Many people started to inquire about Qin Wentian, and even sought out Chu Meng and Fan Lu, who were friends of Qin Wentian. Finally, they learned of a name Qin Wentian. After which, there were rumors that Qin Wentian had once gone berserk in the Moon continent and killed Hua Xiaoyun, the younger brother of the number one genius of the younger generation, Hua Taishu. Not only that, Qin Wentian was also surrounded by many experts. It was rumored that Zhan Chan, Yang Fan, and other heavens chosen on the heavenly fate rankings were all present, but Qin Wentian forcibly abducted Yang Fan's fiancée, Xu Ruanyu, threatening Yang Fan in the star-seizing manner into not daring to touch him. After Xu Ruanyu returned to the Moon continent, the relationship between the star-seizing manor and the Xu clan underwent a subtle change. The star-seizing manor obviously felt that after Xu Ruanyu was abducted by Qin Wentian for so many days, Qin Wentian didn't do anything to her. After all, Yang Fan's status in the star-seizing manor was extraordinary. As for why this piece of news was circulated, it was because there were geniuses from the Moon continent who were cultivating in the unmatched realm. Hence, they had heard a little about this matter, but the details weren't very clear. But at the very least, during this short period of time, Qin Wentian had created a whirlwind in the unmatched realm. Many people even wanted to spar with Qin Wentian, as though defeating him would be a matter of great honor. Naturally, there were also some pursuers of Lu Shi who wanted to seek revenge from Qin Wentian. However, even more people were curious about Qin Wentian. It was rumored that Qin Wentian didn't have an extremely powerful background, but the things he did were simply too crazy. Killing Hua Xiaoyun, abducting Xu Ruanyu, using the Thunder Flame and torturing Lu Shi. If one saw him for the first time, they would never have imagined that he would be so crazy. Today, several members of the Ouyang aristocrat clan arrived at the unmatched realm. Duan Qingshan brought Ouyang Ting with him. Ever since Ouyang Ting was humiliated, her thirst for power grew stronger and stronger. She wanted to surpass Ouyang Quangxing. Today she wanted to barge into the unmatched realm. As for Duan Qingshan, he was a heaven chosen of the Ouyang aristocrat clan with a different surname. Naturally, he was already a member of the unmatched realm. At this moment, there were several people gathered at the entrance of the unmatched realm. Someone in the air laughed. "Brother Duan, when will we be able to drink a cup of wine together?" "It's still early." Duan Qingshan casually laughed. After some time, Ouyang Ting exited the unmatched realm. The person in charge of activating the unmatched realm lightly nodded his head. "Congratulations, you've passed the test of the unmatched realm. In the future, you can cultivate in the unmatched realm." "Thank you, Senior." Ouyang Ting bowed slightly towards the silhouette in the air as a look of joy appeared on her face. After which, she clenched her fists tightly, appearing exceptionally excited. That person nodded his head and left. Without the unmatched old man appearing, Ouyang Ting barely managed to pass the test and obtain the qualifications to enter the unmatched realm. However, if she wanted to enter the 36 Dao cultivation halls, she still had to rely on her own efforts. "Ting-er, congratulations. In the future, you will be able to cultivate together with me." Duan Qingshan smiled. Ouyang Ting nodded her head. "I will definitely surpass Ouyang Quangxing. As for that Qin Wentian and Fan Lu, I will definitely avenge them." "I believe in you." Duan Qingshan smiled as he nodded his head. However, the spectators in the air were all stunned. "Qin Wentian? Wasn't that the madman who just arrived?" "Ouyang Ting, do you have a grudge against Qin Wentian?" someone asked. Ouyang Ting furrowed her brows as she stared at that person. "Yes, there's a grudge between us. Do you know him?" "No." That person shook his head as he laughed. The countenances of the spectators flickered. Duan Qingshan coldly asked, "How do you guys know Qin Wentian?" "Brother Duan, right now in the unmatched realm, there aren't many people who don't know of Qin Wentian." Someone laughed, causing Duan Qingshan to glance at the person who spoke. Ouyang Quangxing brought Qin Wentian and 2 of his friends to the unmatched realm. Not only that, the 3 of them passed the test, and his 2 friends were accepted as disciples by the Arrow Emperor and Xiao Long respectively. That person continued, "How can that be? What about Qin Wentian?" Ouyang Ting's countenance stiffened. She had heard many stories about the unmatched realm from Duan Qingshan. Qin Wentian wasn't accepted as a disciple by anyone, but he was able to enter the 36 Dao cultivation halls. The 36 Dao cultivation halls are open to him. That person's words caused the countenances of Ouyang Ting and Duan Qingshan to freeze. Not only that, Qin Wentian even beat up Lei Yan and Lu Shi, causing them to be in a miserable state. The other party added, "How can this be?" Ouyang Ting no longer felt the slightest bit of excitement. Her countenance was as ugly as it could be. The fellow she hated so much was actually so much more outstanding than her. She had no way to accept such a disparity. Not long ago, she was still feeling immensely pleased with herself for passing the test of the unmatched realm. But now she felt as though she had fallen into the abyss. The disparity was too great. Based on her background, even if she was beaten up by Qin Wentian, she would only feel anger and hatred. She still looked down on Qin Wentian. But now this piece of news was extremely hard to accept. Ting-er, since he came to the unmatched realm, wouldn't things be even more interesting? Duan Qingshan held onto Ouyang Ting's hands, as though he was consoling her. Ouyang Ting nodded her head. Her heart was still filled with anxiety. When she was in the Ouyang aristocrat clan, she could act high and mighty in front of those who wanted to become a part of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. But in the unmatched realm, where geniuses were as numerous as the clouds, there were many whose talents were not inferior to hers. She didn't feel the slightest bit of arrogance. But now she discovered that Qin Wentian's name had already spread far and wide. How could she not feel upset? At this moment, Qin Wentian was currently on a precipice. After inscribing divine inscriptions, he started to study the mountain rampart in front of him. On the mountain rampart, there were many diagrams inscribed, resembling demonic diagrams that contained an intent. As Qin Wentian studied it seriously, the intent seemed as though it wanted to rush out from the mountain rampart, as numerous diagrams appeared. Back then, that senior was a demonic beast. The innate technique he cultivated was extremely powerful, but it was based on demonic beasts. You might not be suitable to cultivate it. Ouyang Quangxing stood beside Qin Wentian, as he pointed to the front. Just look at that diagram. His arms resembled those of a primordial ape. When he punched out, the mountains and rivers trembled, containing a terrifying might. But it's too difficult for us to achieve. To me, it's not difficult at all. Qin Wentian laughed. After which, he stretched out his arms. This time around, he didn't use demonic qi to envelop his arms. Instead, his arms began to transform, becoming thicker and more muscular, with terrifying scales covering them. Strength, not inferior to demonic beasts. Qin Wentian punched out, shattering a gigantic boulder beside the precipice as demonic qi permeated the air. Ouyang Quangxing was speechless. I wonder how you managed to cultivate the mandate of demonic energy to such a level. With just your physique alone, you could insta-kill cultivators at the 5th level of Yuanfu. No wonder your strength was so terrifying. The 81 demonic innate techniques here are very suitable for me. Qin Wentian laughed. I'll have to spend some time to comprehend them. Qin Wentian had already cultivated the Fiend transformation art to the 2nd level, the Fiend Advent realm. He could transform his body parts into that of a demonic beast, forming the body of a demonic venerable. Not only that, he was extremely proficient in using it. One of the bloodlines that flowed through his veins was that of an extremely powerful demonic bloodline. In addition to his demon sovereign astral soul, which allowed him to absorb astral energy from the demon sovereign constellations, he was extremely suited to cultivating the mandate of demonic beasts. Now that he had the physique of a demonic beast, he believed that the demonic arts that appeared on the precipice would be extremely suitable for him to cultivate. You only have a year's time. You have to make the most of it and increase your strength. Ouyang Quangxing nodded. It's not so easy to obtain the top 3 positions in the heavenly fate rankings. The opponents you will face will all be incomparably strong. I understand. This unmatched realm is an extremely wondrous place. I have to thank you for your help. Qin Wentian politely replied. You're being polite to me? Ouyang Quangxing glared at Qin Wentian, causing the two of them to break out into laughter. At this moment, a few silhouettes appeared not far away from them. They floated above the surface of the sea as they stared at Qin Wentian. So you're hiding here? Ouyang Quangxing frowned when he saw them. Out of the 3 of you, 2 are at the 7th level of Yuanfu while the other is at the 8th level. Are you here to spar with Qin Wentian? Spar? You overestimate him too much. I'm only here to settle some debts with him. The 3 of them laughed as they walked towards the edge of the precipice, exuding a powerful aura. How annoying. Qin Wentian felt depressed in his heart. If you want to fight, hurry up. The 3 of them froze. One of them had a cold smile on his face as he stared disdainfully at Qin Wentian. An intense glow enveloped him as he calmly stated, Now, follow me to Lu Shi's place. Kneel before her and apologize. Kowtow 10 times and I won't pursue this matter any further. This person was none other than an expert at the 8th level of Yuanfu. From afar, the spectators sighed in admiration when they saw this scene. Qin Wentian is in trouble. Zai Mu's combat prowess is extremely powerful. His combat prowess is definitely at the 9th level of Yuanfu. This time around, Qin Wentian has given him a good opportunity to pursue Lu Shi. The 3 of you, come at me together. Qin Wentian indifferently spoke, his words causing Zai Mu's expression to stiffen. They knew Qin Wentian was arrogant, but they didn't expect him to be this arrogant. Courting death. Zai Mu and the other 2 stepped out, instantly arriving at Qin Wentian's side. Zai Mu stabbed out with his finger as a resplendent beam of sword light slashed out, exuding a terrifying might. However, at the instant he descended, Qin Wentian stomped his foot on the ground as a towering sword qi swept through the air. Piercing sounds rang out as the beam of sword light was actually engulfed by it. Qin Wentian stabbed out with his finger as the surrounding area transformed into countless beams of sword light that gushed forth in rage. Zai Mu's countenance drastically changed, only to see the sword light enveloping them within. Qin Wentian frenziedly stabbed out with his palms, causing the two of them to scream in agony. "Do you want to die?" Qin Wentian stared at Zai Mu as a terrifying sword might gushed forth. Zai Mu's countenance turned as white as paper. How could there be such terrifying divine inscriptions here? Puchi. Numerous beams of sword light pierced through his arms, causing blood to spurt out. Zai Mu and the other two screamed in agony. However, Qin Wentian didn't relent. His sword might continued gushing forth, penetrating through their arms as well as their chests. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he dashed forwards, punching out at them one after another. After which, the spectators from afar saw Qin Wentian directly blasting the bodies of Zai Mu and the other two off the cliff. Splashing sounds rang out as the waves of the sea washed over them. "If anyone else dares to come, they will have the same ending." Qin Wentian's voice was ice-cold as he stared into the distance. Not long after, the bodies of Zai Mu and the other two burst out from the sea. Their arms hung limply by their sides, their countenances were as pale as paper, and their bodies were drenched in sweat. They angrily glared at Qin Wentian before turning and departing. The spectators from afar all felt their hearts pounding madly, yet Qin Wentian quietly turned and smiled bitterly at the dumbfounded Ouyang Quangxing and Ouyang Xiaolu. "Kneel down and kowtow 10 times. If I don't be more ruthless to these people, I don't know how many arrogant fellows would come here to make me kowtow." After which, Qin Wentian sat cross-legged, preparing to cultivate. Chapter 318. After Zai Mu. No one else dared to disturb Qin Wentian's cultivation. On the precipice, the mountains and the sea were connected. The sound of waves crashing against the mountain walls rang out unceasingly. That silhouette sat cross-legged, and after a period of time, he would stand up and soar above the sea surface, like a great rock soaring through the heavens and earth, or like a flood dragon stirring up the winds and clouds. From afar, there were people who saw Qin Wentian cultivating, and their hearts were filled with shock. Very quickly, rumors circulated that Qin Wentian was a half-beastman, and was the same as Shiki, possessing a powerful demonic bloodline. He was extremely suitable to cultivate the innate abilities of demonic beasts, and was able to comprehend the innate techniques left behind by the seniors of the demonic world. The rumors grew more and more exaggerated, and many people gradually believed that Qin Wentian was a half-beastman. In any case, there were too many rumors regarding Qin Wentian in the unmatched realm. Some said he was a 4th-ranked grandmaster, some said he was a half-beastman, and there were even rumors that he was a hidden descendant of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Or perhaps, he was the illegitimate son of an important figure of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Ouyang Quangxing didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard this. In the unmatched realm in a pavilion, a young man and a young woman sat facing each other. Both of them were extremely outstanding. The young man's bearing was extraordinary, and he didn't seem to have any aura at all. However, every single move he made seemed to contain a profound concept. It was as if every single move he made contained a profound rhythm that harmonized with the heavens and the earth. The young woman was extremely beautiful, even more so compared to Lu Shi, who was defeated by Qin Wentian. Lu Shi had many suitors, but this young woman had very few pursuers. Because she already had a lover, and her lover was an extremely famous character in the entire unmatched realm. Situ Pa, a disciple of the Sword Extinction sect, was a heavens chosen of the Azure continent. Only those who could step into the top 36 of the heavenly fate rankings had the qualifications to become a heavens chosen of the 9 continents. Situ Pa was destined to step into the top 36 of the heavenly fate rankings. It was rumored that a year from now, he would be heading to the ancient kingdom of Granxia. At that time, there was no doubt that he would be ranked within the heavenly fate rankings. In fact, if the heavenly fate rankings were to be rearranged now, with his current strength, he would definitely be able to obtain a spot within the heavenly fate rankings. He was Situ Pa. Before Qin Wentian, there were already 3 people who had the right to cultivate the 36 mountains. Situ Pa was one of them. Currently, Situ Pa had a cultivation base at the 8th level of Yuanfu. His combat prowess could easily insta-kill an ordinary cultivator at the 9th level of Yuanfu, and even defeat a demon-level Yuanfu genius. As for how strong he was exactly, no one knew. Most probably, they would only find out in a year's time. But there was no need to doubt his strength. Once upon a time he was the same as Qin Wentian, causing quite a commotion in the unmatched realm, defeating many challengers. Up till today, there were already very few people who dared to challenge him. As for the beautiful maiden, her name was Yu Bingying, and she was from the Azure Emperor Palace, one of the transcendent powers of the Azure continent. Not long ago, she had broken through to the 7th level of Yuanfu, and her talent could also be considered outstanding. I heard that the person named Qin Wentian is even more famous than you. Yu Bingying's smile was akin to a blossoming flower, as she spoke to Situpa. Situpa laughed lightly. He didn't exude any arrogance, nor did he exude any arrogance. Upon hearing this name that he had been so familiar with recently, there wasn't much of a ripple in his heart. To others, they might want to challenge Qin Wentian to see how strong he was, but Situpa didn't have such thoughts. After all, he was the same type of person as Qin Wentian, having the right to cultivate the 36 mountains. For such a person, his confidence was ingrained deep in his bones, just like Qin Wentian. Arrogance flowed in his veins, and his arrogance towered up to the heavens, yet on the surface, he looked extremely ordinary. He knew that Qin Wentian's talent was extremely high. Since he was able to obtain the right to cultivate the 36 mountains, how could his talent not be high? He must have passed the final checkpoint. But so what? After all, Qin Wentian's cultivation base was only at the 5th level of Yuanfu. They weren't on the same level at all. Hence, he only felt a trace of curiosity towards Qin Wentian. That fellow is truly ruthless. No matter what, She is still a delicate beauty, yet he actually dared to attack her until she was bedridden for several days. I wonder how many men have died of heartache because of this. Do you feel the same way? Yu Bingying smiled. As long as she doesn't provoke you, I won't feel anything. Situpa faintly replied, his words causing a sweet smile to appear on Yu Bingying's face. Oh yeah. I heard that your Azure Emperor Palace isn't very peaceful recently. What's going on? Did the Azure faction start to stir up trouble again? Situpa asked in bewilderment. There are traces of the D clan. But after so many years, it's impossible for them to rise from the ashes again. Yu Bingying's beautiful eyes flashed with a cold smile. Our Azure Emperor Palace has been investigating the inheritances left behind by the Azure Emperor all these years, as well as those hidden descendants of the Azure Emperor. We've searched through many places, even to the remote empires, yet there's no news at all. Now that they've appeared, it might be a good thing for them. You better be careful. Situpa spoke to Yu Bingying. Although this matter doesn't implicate you temporarily, there's no harm in being careful. What's there to be afraid of? Don't I have you to protect me? I'm really anticipating the day when you grow up. At that time, the Azure Emperor Palace will support you to control the Sword Extinction Sect, and after you become the leader of the Sword Extinction Sect, we will be able to suppress the Azure Emperor Palace. It would be perfect if the two transcendent powers could be united under one banner. Yu Bingying laughed. She didn't mind even if her words were heard by those from the Sword Extinction Sect. The Sword Extinction Sect was originally a power of a sect. The heavens chosen of the younger generations would fight for the leadership of the Sword Extinction Sect, eliminating the other geniuses one step at a time. There will definitely be a day like that. Situpa laughed. At this moment, the sound of footsteps drifted over from afar. It was none other than the heavens chosen candidate of the Sword Extinction Sect, Lin Haotian. A complicated expression could be seen in his eyes as he stared at Situpa. He was already very outstanding, but because of Situpa, he was suppressed to the point where he couldn't even lift his head. Lin Haotian, I heard that you wanted to witness Qin Wentian's strength. How is it going? Yu Bingying turned her gaze over as she smiled at Lin Haotian. He's currently cultivating. Lin Haotian replied. Zai Mu's matter should be enough to make you guys not dare to antagonize him again. Yu Bingying laughed. Lin Haotian, help me with something. Arrange an appointment with Qin Wentian. I'm really curious, what's the difference between him and Situpa? After speaking, Yu Bingying smiled as she glanced at Situpa, causing him to shake his head with a smile. This last must have noticed that Qin Wentian was the same as him, possessing the authority to cultivate in all 36 halls. Hence, she wanted to broaden her horizons. Lin Haoyan froze for a moment before shifting his gaze onto Situpa. Situpa lightly nodded his head as Lin Haoyan replied, "Okay." After which, he turned and departed the area. Very quickly, the Sword Extinction sect released the news that Yu Bingying wanted to meet with Qin Wentian to test his strength. This news caused the entire unmatched realm to be in an uproar. Yu Bingying's cultivation base had already broken through to the 7th level of Yuanfu. Qin Wentian shouldn't be able to contend against her. Not only that, everyone knew very well who would be behind Yu Bingying. Qin Wentian was completely oblivious to all the rumors going on in the outside world. In the blink of an eye, he had already been cultivating for over a month. Waves crashed against the cliffs, yet Qin Wentian was still immersed in his cultivation. His body was dripping wet, exuding a demonic aura. A raging wind gushed forth from his body as the demonic qi around him grew stronger and stronger. At this moment, Qin Wentian was sitting cross-legged, immersed in his dreamscape. In his dreamscape, the 81 stances of the demonic arts were extremely terrifying. The Yuanfu within his body was roaring, growing larger and larger as it expanded at a frenzied pace. As the first Yuanfu transformed, the other 2 Yuanfu also began to seethe with energy. Within Qin Wentian's body, rumbling sounds could be heard. Qin Wentian, Lin Haoyan and a few others stood on top of a gigantic boulder far away. However, Qin Wentian, who was in the midst of his cultivation, was on the verge of breaking through. Hence, he didn't even bother to listen to their voices. This fellow is indeed as the rumors said. If it wasn't for the fact that he had inscribed a divine inscription, we would have directly rushed over and captured him. Lin Haoyan nodded his head, only to see a snowy puppy glaring at him from the edge of the cliff. A cold smile appeared on Lin Haoyan's face. Even a beast dared to glare at him in such a manner? Qin Wentian, wake up! Lin Haoyan roared. A terrifying will of the mandate of swords gushed forth, directly piercing into Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness, causing Qin Wentian to feel an unbearable sense of discomfort. Qin Wentian groaned in agony. Abruptly, his eyes flickered with an intense cold light as he stood up and turned his gaze towards Lin Haoyan. His eyes were as cold as ice, akin to a sharp sword that was unsheathed, piercing towards Lin Haoyan. Humph! Upon seeing this, Lin Haoyan coldly laughed. Although Qin Wentian's talent had already been acknowledged by the unmatched realm, he actually dared to act so arrogantly in front of Lin Haoyan. Qin Wentian, there's someone who wishes to see you. Lin Haoyan emotionlessly stated. Qin Wentian fell silent for a moment before his lips trembled. After which, he coldly spat out, "Scram as far away as you can." Lin Haoyan's gaze froze as the sword intent radiating from him intensified. He coldly laughed. "You won't be able to hide from someone who wishes to see you. It's better for you to come with me." "You can be so arrogant even when you're a dog? I told you to scram." Qin Wentian's tone was ice cold. The greatest taboo for cultivators was to be interrupted, let alone when he was on the verge of breaking through. At this moment he only wanted to regain the state he was in earlier, and break through to the 6th level of Yuanfu in the shortest time possible. As for the debt with Lin Haoyan, he would settle it after he broke through. "You're so arrogant that you don't even know who you are after defeating a few people. In the unmatched realm, you still don't have the qualifications to be arrogant," Lin Haoyan coldly stated, his killing intent gushing forth. Qin Wentian turned and sat down cross-legged, directly ignoring Lin Haoyan. Even if he continued to talk to Lin Haoyan now, it would be useless. Not only that, it would be troublesome for him to deal with those people. "You'd better never leave the place where the divine inscription was carved." Seeing that Qin Wentian was ignoring him, Lin Haoyan also left the area, leaving behind a few words of threat. Chapter 319. After Qin Wentian was interrupted, he once again entered a meditative state, wanting to find that wondrous state he was in. However, it wasn't easy for him to enter that state again. He could only repeat the demonic art over and over again until his body was permeated with demonic qi, causing his Yuanfu to tremble violently. Only then did he gradually find that wondrous state. At this moment his body was like that of a demon. Demonic qi circulated around his body, and the astral energy in his yuanfu grew even more violent. Gradually, the astral energy in his 3 yuanfu pools started to seethe. His aura gradually rose, becoming stronger and stronger. On the precipice of the mountain, a man and a snowy puppy sat quietly. Only the sound of the crashing waves could be heard, unceasingly crashing against the mountain walls. From afar, no one was paying attention to Qin Wentian anymore. After all, the people in the unmatched realm were all geniuses. They had to cultivate themselves, and it was impossible for them to keep watching Qin Wentian. However, there were already rumors circulating in the outside world that Qin Wentian would be defeated this time around. What sort of character was Yu Bingying? Leaving aside her own status in the Azure Emperor Palace, as well as her own talent, her companion Situpa was extremely famous in the unmatched realm. Not only that, he had already been here for over a year, and his cultivation base was already at the 8th level of Yuanfu. Qin Wentian, who was at the 5th level of Yuanfu, couldn't be compared to him. The disparity between them was simply too great. However, Qin Wentian had no idea about all of this. A few days later, when Qin Wentian opened his eyes, a faint smile could be seen on his face. At this moment, his demonic qi was retracted, and his aura was calm, just like an ordinary person. Only his long hair and robes were disheveled by the sea breeze. Swish! Little rascal instantly leapt into Qin Wentian's embrace, causing Qin Wentian to smile as he rubbed its head. Come on, let's go take a bath. After speaking, Qin Wentian stepped out, hugging little rascal as he leapt into the sea. The unmatched realm's mountain range was extremely vast. There were 36 Dao cultivation mountains, and on top of them, there were cultivation caves and ancient halls. Every mountain was guarded by an expert known as the Unmatched Elders. At this time, halfway up a cultivation mountain, a young man slowly walked up. A snowy puppy ran behind him, looking extremely adorable. There were many cave dwellings in the mountains, all of which were opened up by the people who cultivated here. As long as one had the right to cultivate in a Dao cultivation mountain, they could open up their own cave dwelling in the mountain. At the beginning of every month, Old Man Peerless would discuss his understanding of martial arts in the Dao cultivation hall at the top of the mountain. Everyone could ask questions and exchange views. If there was someone with outstanding talent, Old Man Peerless would personally guide them or even take them as his disciples. Qin Wentian. A voice drifted over. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, only to see a beautiful woman standing outside the cave dwelling. Her beautiful eyes shone with a brilliant light, and when she saw Qin Wentian looking at her, an awkward expression appeared on her face. Earlier, she had called out to him unintentionally. Qin Wentian nodded at her, revealing a gentle smile. Instantly, the beautiful eyes of the woman froze. Seeing the smile on his handsome face, she was stunned. This fellow was truly good-looking when he smiled. It was hard to imagine that he would be so violent. There's a cave dwelling beside me. It was left behind by a predecessor. Right now there's no one inside. Do you want it? The woman involuntarily called out when she saw Qin Wentian turning his gaze away. Qin Wentian stared at the woman in astonishment, causing her to feel somewhat embarrassed. However, she only saw Qin Wentian lightly nodding his head as he walked towards a cave dwelling not far away from the woman. Indeed, this cave was cleaned up and was very well developed. There was a piece of flat ground floating in the air outside. One could meditate and cultivate here. There was an ancient mountain peak beside it, as well as a waterfall. The environment wasn't bad at all. How do you know me? Qin Wentian smiled as he stared at the woman beside him. Back then when you fought against Lu Shi, I saw you before. That woman smiled as she replied, My name is Kenglin. Right now there's someone looking for you. How relaxed you actually came here. Kenglin, who is looking for me? Qin Wentian asked. Lin Haotian and the others. Lin Haotian. Qin Wentian didn't know. Lin Haotian is a heavens chosen from the Sword Extinction sect, with a cultivation base at the 7th level of Yuanfu. I heard that you've met him before and even told him to scram. Naturally, the person looking for you isn't him but the person behind him. Yu Bingying heard of your reputation and wanted to meet you. Maybe she wants to see how you compare to Situpa. Kenglin laughed as he continued, however, I'm afraid you won't know the person I'm talking about. Yu Bingying is from the Azure Emperor Palace, with a cultivation base at the 7th level of Yuanfu. She can be considered one of the most beautiful women in the entire unmatched realm. Not only that, she's also Situpo's girlfriend. Situpo is the same as you. He has the authority to cultivate in all 36 halls. However, with a cultivation base at the 8th level of Yuanfu, he can easily defeat opponents at the 9th level of Yuanfu. Not interested. Qin Wentian muttered to himself for a moment before smiling. Yu Bingying, someone from the Azure Emperor Palace. Had he finally come into contact with someone from the Azure Emperor Palace? Her surname was Yu. It seemed like the current Azure Emperor Palace was in the hands of someone with the surname Yu. Then, are you interested in me? A silhouette descended from the skies, instantly landing beside Qin Wentian. This caused Qin Wentian's heart to skip a beat as he stared at the silhouette in front of him. He hadn't even sensed it at all. What an incredible speed. This person had a tall stature and a dignified countenance. He didn't look old at all, only middle-aged. Qin Wentian pays his respects to senior. Qin Wentian bowed slightly, causing the middle-aged man to laugh. I've always been interested in you. I've long wanted to meet you. Come with me. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes. How direct wasn't she? Why? Are you not willing? That person glared at Qin Wentian. I don't dare to. I'll naturally obey senior's orders. Qin Wentian shook his head. That's right. That person stepped out in the air as Qin Wentian followed after him. His actions caused Kanglin to stand there in a daze, shaking her head with a bitter smile on her face as she stared at the two silhouettes disappearing. The barbarian king personally appeared. What else could she do other than smile bitterly? Although Qin Wentian was amiable and approachable, the disparity between them was too great. It wouldn't be easy for them to cross paths. The middle-aged man brought Qin Wentian to the peak of the mountain. The atmosphere here was exceptionally cool and refreshing. Qin Wentian noticed the middle-aged man staring at him as he smiled. Little brat, I've seen your trial. Your strength is very high. How did you do it? Junior's comprehension of the mandate of force has already reached the transformation boundary, allowing me to increase my strength by 8 times. Qin Wentian replied. Don't lie to me. With a cultivation base at the 5th level of Yuanfu, an 8 times increase in strength is far from enough. The barbarian king had a smile that was not a smile on his face as he stared at Qin Wentian. I'm also proficient in demonic energy, and have cultivated demon-type cultivation arts. My physique is extremely strong, and my strength is naturally high as well. If I increase my attack power by 8 times, I would be able to reach that level. Qin Wentian stretched out his hands as demonic qi permeated the air. The barbarian king nodded his head. I've indeed seen the demonic qi you exuded during the trial. Strange, how can a human be able to cultivate a demonic body? What cultivation art do you cultivate? I'm just casually asking, you don't have to answer. The barbarian king waved his hands when he saw that Qin Wentian was in a difficult position. There were some people who cultivated extremely powerful cultivation arts, and this was Wu Xiu's secret. It was impolite of him to inquire about cultivation arts. The barbarian king naturally understood this. He wouldn't force Qin Wentian to answer just because he was curious. Use your full strength to attack me, let me feel it. The barbarian king stood there as he spoke to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian lightly nodded his head. After which, he gathered his strength and took a step forwards, releasing the will of 2 mandates. The blood in his body surged as he blasted out with explosive force, slamming into the chest of the barbarian king. The barbarian king stood there, unmoving. The force of the attack slammed into his robes, instantly tearing them apart, revealing his naked upper body. Who? The barbarian king spat out a mouthful of turbid air as he stared at Qin Wentian. Good brat, you're already at the 6th level of Yuanfu, and the will of 2 mandates at the transformation realm. How powerful! Even someone at the 7th level of Yuanfu wouldn't be able to withstand such an attack. Qin Wentian laughed awkwardly as he stared at the half-naked barbarian king. However, the barbarian king didn't seem to mind. AI, it's such a pity that you didn't become my disciple. Such a good seedling. The barbarian king sighed in a depressed manner. His personality had always been straightforward, and he wouldn't mince his words in front of the juniors. The one who imparts knowledge is the teacher. Qin Wentian smiled at the barbarian king, causing the barbarian king to be stunned. After which, He glared at Qin Wentian as he laughed. Good brat, I didn't even say I wanted to teach you. Qin Wentian laughed awkwardly, yet his eyes were exceptionally bright when he looked at the barbarian king. Staring at the shameless look in Qin Wentian's eyes, the barbarian king continued, Okay, your strength is already very high. I will teach you some offensive techniques that will increase your strength by a few notches. In that case, you should be able to insta-kill someone at the 7th level of Yuanfu just by relying on your strength alone. Many thanks, senior. Qin Wentian bowed. How could he not grab hold of such a good opportunity? Have you seen any powerful sword cultivators before? The barbarian king asked. Naturally not as powerful as senior. Qin Wentian replied. The attacks of sword cultivators are as smooth as flowing water. Powerful sword techniques contain the essence of the sword within, and at the instant they strike, it's as though the sword itself is the entire world. The stronger the sword rhythm, the more terrifying the might of the attack. The barbarian king explained. An expression of contemplation appeared on Qin Wentian's face. A complete set of sword techniques had to be smooth and fluid. If one wanted the sword technique to be perfect, not a single mistake could be made. Naturally, the essence of the sword rhythm had to be extremely powerful. Actually, this is only the case for sword techniques. Isn't it the same for saber techniques? What's the difference between spear techniques and saber techniques? In fact, any type of attack is the same. The barbarian king continued, Think about it, when two people have the same level of strength, why would the attacks of some seem ordinary, while the attacks of others would be like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain, possessing boundless might? Other than the innate techniques themselves, there's also the essence of the sword. The barbarian king casually punched out, causing the heavens and earth to rumble. However, the barbarian king's feet spun as he punched out once more. A thunderous boom rang out as his entire person exuded a violent aura, causing the might of his attack to be even stronger. For the two attacks I used the same amount of strength, but you've already seen the might of my attack. Let's see it a third time. The barbarian king grew serious. He casually stood there, yet he was like a towering mountain that required one to look up at him. His body trembled slightly as the muscles of his entire body moved. His feet spun slightly as a terrifying might appeared in the surroundings. As the barbarian king punched out, a towering might blasted out together with him, causing the heavens and earth to tremble violently. It's the same strike, but your body is in harmony. You've integrated yourself into this world, as if you've become one with nature. You're everything in this world, and you've become one with it. Your body has become incomparably coordinated, and you've gathered all your strength into your arms. When you punch out, it's a rhythm, and at the same time it's a kind of momentum. The barbarian king stared at Qin Wentian as he laughed. Little brat, it's very difficult to comprehend, right? Do you understand? Understood. Qin Wentian nodded his head. His heart was filled with the fire of his heart, and when his heart was focused, it was as if he was one with the heavens and earth. It wasn't hard to comprehend the barbarian king's words. Understood? Don't talk big. Try it for 2 to 3 months and you might be able to completely control it. Next you can continue to try it here. Let me see how long you need. The barbarian king laughed uproariously. Although it seemed simple, it wasn't so easy to completely comprehend and control it. After fully comprehending it, the power behind each of Qin Wentian's attacks would increase by several folds, and each of his strikes would be the same. Chapter 320. Qin Wentian stood on the ground, drawing in a deep breath. His heart was as tranquil as still water, as he entered into a state of forgetfulness. Abruptly, his body trembled. In that instant, his body became incomparably harmonious. Astral energy gushed forth from his body, flowing towards his arms. The demonic qi he exuded towered up to the heavens, as his entire body swayed with a unique rhythm. Qin Wentian's entire being transformed into a howling demonic beast, stirring up the winds and clouds of the heavens and earth. Pung! As he punched out, the space beneath Qin Wentian's feet trembled violently. Cracks appeared on the ground beneath his feet, as though he was a ferocious beast. The barbarian king was startled. This brat's comprehension ability was so high. Not enough, your strength isn't harmonized to perfection yet. If not, your strength wouldn't have leaked to the ground beneath your feet. The barbarian king continued. Not only that, your strength is too weak. You don't even have the power of a grand mandate. The strength you unleashed is merely the limit of your physique, yet you didn't borrow the power of the external mandate. How can you be called a genius? Oh, Qin Wentian's lips twitched. After which, he tried again, punching out punch after punch, gradually entering into a wondrous state. The candlelight in his heart quietly burned, as though he was the only one left in this world. When he moved, the entire world seemed to move with him. Seeing how each of Qin Wentian's punches were progressing, the barbarian king's eyes widened in disbelief. Damn, was this really a little brat at the 6th level of Yuanfu? A day later, Qin Wentian's strength harmonization had already reached perfection. As he unleashed an explosive strike, the power of the heavens and earth seemed to move with him, akin to the roar of a dragon, sweeping through the heavens and earth. This feeling caused Qin Wentian to be mesmerized. It was as though every single strand of energy in his body was being utilized to its fullest potential, without the slightest bit of wastage. He even borrowed the power of the external mandate. Done. The barbarian king's voice drifted out. Qin Wentian halted, turning to the barbarian king with a silly smile on his face. Senior, have you improved? Well, it's just so. The barbarian king nodded, staring at the smile that was not a smile on Qin Wentian's face. His silhouette flickered as he walked over and directly rapped on Qin Wentian's head, causing Qin Wentian to perspire in shame as he stared at the barbarian king in a depressed manner. No matter what, you are an esteemed senior. How can you bully others like this? What are you looking at? If you don't like it, then come fight me. The barbarian king placed his hands on his hips and glared at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to completely lose his temper. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was too damn depressing. You've only comprehended this little thing, and you're already acting so smug in front of me? With your measly strength, do you even know what a mandate is? Have you come into contact with the true meaning of martial path? The barbarian king spoke in a lecturing tone as he stared at Qin Wentian. Your mandate of force has only comprehended the first level of insight, which is also the foundation of the mandate of force. Right now, you're only at the transformation boundary, and only after that would you be able to reach the perfection boundary. Work harder in the future, and if you can comprehend the second level of insight when you're at the 8th or 9th level of Yuanfu, you'll be invincible in the Yuanfu realm. The second level of insight is so strong? Qin Wentian curiously asked. Of course, the first level of insight is the foundation of the mandate of force. Comprehending the second level of insight is already the foundation of the first level. Of course it's strong. The barbarian king continued to explain to Qin Wentian, don't underestimate the mandate of force because it's one of the more common mandates. The simpler it is, the more extraordinary it is. In my opinion, the mandate of force is the strongest. Think about it, your first level of insight is at the perfection boundary and you've already comprehended 16 times your strength. What kind of concept is that? Who in the same realm as you would be able to compete with you in terms of strength? You'd be able to destroy your opponent with a single punch. You might not be able to do so, Qin Wentian weakly replied. Although the barbarian king's words were logical, it was obvious that he was biased. Every mandate of force was extremely powerful. Just take the mandate of arrows for example. The first level of insight, insta-kill, if it reached the perfection boundary, its speed would be 16 times faster. How powerful would its attack be? Not only that, you wouldn't even be able to dodge it. Any mandate that reached the perfection boundary would be extremely terrifying. That's because you're weak. No matter how slow I am, I'd still be able to destroy you. The barbarian king spoke as he walked towards Qin Wentian. His speed was extremely slow, causing Qin Wentian to freeze as he retreated. However, he discovered that his body seemed to be bound by a boundless force, causing him to be unable to move an inch. His arms, his legs, he couldn't even lift them. The strength of the barbarian king was too terrifying. He was much stronger compared to those heavenly dipper sovereigns he had met before. Qin Wentian's forehead was filled with perspiration. This is the second level mandate of force that I've comprehended. Tell me, if I wanted to kill you, wouldn't it be as easy as squashing an ant? The barbarian king didn't hold back as he continued to attack Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. Luckily, the heavenly dipper sovereigns he had faced before weren't that strong. If his opponent's mandate was stronger, he wouldn't even be able to escape, using a second-level mandate of force to suppress you, before slowly walking towards you and crushing you with a single punch. For stellar martial cultivators, other than one's cultivation level, the comprehension of one's mandate is also extremely important. After that, innate techniques and techniques are important. In the future, you have to remember that when you cultivate, you have to comprehend more and comprehend more. Try to comprehend a second-level mandate of force as soon as possible, unless you meet someone similar to you, who in the Yuanfu realm would be your opponent. As the barbarian king spoke, he noticed a look of contemplation on Qin Wentian's face. Forget it, your comprehension abilities are too low. There's nothing much to teach you. Think about it carefully. As the sound of his voice faded, the barbarian king stepped out, vanishing from sight. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened as he stared in the direction where the barbarian king disappeared. After which, he bowed slightly to him. With the guidance of a great master, he would be able to travel 1,000 miles in a single day. If he were to cultivate by himself, he didn't know how long it would take. No wonder so many people wanted to come to the unmatched realm. There were 36 mountains here, and each of the elders had their own specialties. How could this not attract geniuses? After resting here for a day, Qin Wentian departed, heading towards the other Dao cultivation mountains to cultivate. Because each and every expert had their own specialties, Qin Wentian could only use the insights of the elders as a reference. While they were lecturing, Qin Wentian quietly listened by the side. For the most part, he spent most of his time cultivating with an elder who was proficient in the Tao of Dreams, as well as an elder who was proficient in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions. These two elders also provided guidance to Qin Wentian, allowing Qin Wentian to improve by leaps and bounds in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions. As for the Tao of Divine Inscriptions, he used the gold element scroll as a reference, comprehending the teachings of the elders. Such a method of cultivation caused Qin Wentian to feel extremely satisfied. In the past, he wasn't willing to enter closed-door seclusion for too long. After all, if he secluded himself, there would be a limit to what he could comprehend. He needed to broaden his horizons, or perhaps he needed to comprehend in the midst of battle. Only then would he be able to continuously improve. If you cultivated alone in the depths of the mountains, maybe after 10 or 20 years, you would still be at the same level as before with no changes at all. If not, wouldn't it be better for those with high talent to hide away and cultivate for tens of years? That would be the epitome of stupidity. But in the unmatched realm, Qin Wentian had a feeling that even if he cultivated here for a few years, he wouldn't encounter any bottlenecks. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed. Qin Wentian had already been in the unmatched realm for over 3 months. Today, on the Dao Cultivation Mountain where the Arrow Emperor resided, the Arrow Emperor, Fan Lu and Chu Mang were present. Although the Arrow Emperor only accepted Fan Lu as his disciple, he also allowed Chu Mang to come to the Dao Cultivation Mountain. Because Chu Mang was also proficient in the Tao of archery, he would often look for Fan Lu to seek guidance from the Arrow Emperor. Alright, take a break. At this moment, after Chu Mang and Fan Lu finished another round of practice, the Arrow Emperor waved them off. Fan Lu and Chu Mang walked towards Qin Wentian as smiles appeared on their faces. How do you feel these few months? Fan Lu asked Qin Wentian. Not bad at all. Qin Wentian smiled as he nodded his head. Of course not. You broke through again. Seems like there's hope for you to contend for the heavenly fate rankings. Fan Lu laughed. Right now, Qin Wentian's cultivation base was at the 6th level of Yuanfu. If he used his full strength, his combat prowess should be able to defeat ordinary 8th level Yuanfu cultivators. If he continued to raise his cultivation base, he would definitely be able to contend for the heavenly fate rankings. You're not bad as well. Qin Wentian could naturally tell that Fan Li's cultivation base had also reached the 6th level of Yuanfu. This little fellow had been diligently cultivating these few days, and with the Arrow Emperor's supervision, it was impossible for him to slack off. Big bro Chu Mang, you have to work hard. Qin Wentian smiled as he glanced at Chu Mang. My cultivation speed is a little slower. Chu Mang grinned. No, big bro Mang, your cultivation speed has always been very fast. It's only because your cultivation base is higher now that you're slower. Qin Wentian replied. Qin Wentian nodded his head in agreement. Cultivation would only get harder the further one went. After reaching the peak of Yuanfu, it would be even harder to break through to Heavenly Dipper. Not only would one have to condense their astral novas, they would also have to comprehend the second level of mandates. Little fellow, do you want to cultivate archery as well? I can teach you. The Arrow Emperor smiled as he stared at Qin Wentian. Senior, don't bite off more than you can chew. For now, it's better for me to focus on the mandate I'm proficient in. In the future, let's see what my fourth astral soul is. At that time, I might be able to cultivate another type of mandate. Qin Wentian politely replied. That's right, for stellar martial cultivators, the mandate they cultivate is usually determined by their astral souls. You have to choose your fourth astral soul carefully. Remember to choose an astral soul that can bring out your advantages. At the end, the effects of astral souls would be extremely important. The Arrow Emperor cautioned, Junior will listen to your teachings. Qin Wentian nodded his head. The seniors of the unmatched realm were all extremely friendly. If it was in the external world, it would be extremely difficult to meet people of this level. Naturally, this was also because of the unique nature of the unmatched realm. Those who could cultivate here were all geniuses with extremely high potential. During these few months when Qin Wentian was diligently cultivating, Lin Haotian had sought out Qin Wentian many times. But every time, he would discover that Qin Wentian was at the Dao Cultivation Mountain. Lin Haotian didn't dare to disturb Qin Wentian. Naturally, there were some Dao Cultivation Mountains that he wasn't allowed to enter. Lin Haotian had already spread the news that Qin Wentian was intentionally hiding, not daring to face Lin Haotian and Yu Binging. However, this was understandable. Qin Wentian's strength was still too weak. Lin Haotian and Yu Binging were already extremely difficult to deal with, let alone Situpa. Situpa wasn't someone that Qin Wentian could afford to antagonize. At the very least, Qin Wentian couldn't afford to offend him yet. Chapter 321. Occasionally, he would find a cave dwelling to comprehend his insights, and occasionally, he would find a Dao cultivating mountain to listen to the teachings of the seniors. Qin Wentian enjoyed this process very much. His strength was improving bit by bit every day, and although it wasn't as drastic as breaking through to the next cultivation level, dripping water could penetrate a stone. Just this little bit of improvement was enough to make him much stronger than when he first arrived in the unmatched realm. However, as time passed, the speed of his improvement also began to slow down. Today, Qin Wentian was strolling through an ancient mountain. Inclining his head, he saw a silhouette clad in white walking over. This silhouette was elegant and refined, akin to a snow lotus on an icy mountain. This was none other than the female Qin Wentian had sparred with before. This female had sparred with Qin Wentian during the test he took to enter the unmatched realm. She was extremely powerful, and it seemed that she was someone special. She was the one who informed him that he had obtained the authority to cultivate in the 36 mountain peaks. In that case, who was the one who gave the order? Someone who had the authority to give him the authority to cultivate in the 36 mountain peaks must have a very high status in the unmatched realm. The white-robed female also noticed Qin Wentian's presence. She halted her steps as she stared at Qin Wentian, after which she asked in a low voice, "Did your strength improve during these few days?" "Yes, I did. Would there be a chance for me to spar with you again?" Qin Wentian smiled. It wasn't that he was competitive, it was just that this female was extremely powerful. She was at the 8th level of Yuanfu and had a mandate at the perfection boundary. This made Qin Wentian really want to know how great the disparity was between him and such a character. Back then, he had heard from Kanglin that the person behind Yu Bingying, Situpo's strength should be roughly the same as this female's. Fine. The white-robed female stared at Qin Wentian as she lightly nodded her head. Go all out. The astral energy within Qin Wentian's body surged as the power of his bloodline circulated through his veins. His blood boiled as his battle intent soared to the heavens. A terrifying demonic qi gushed forth, and even before he made his move, Qin Wentian's demeanor had already transformed, as though he had transformed into a desolate primordial beast. Qin Wentian didn't stand on ceremony with his opponent. His silhouette instantly dashed out. He knew that his opponent was at the 8th level of Yuanfu, 2 levels higher than him. Not only that, his mandate of ice and snow was at the perfection boundary. His opponent's mandate of ice and snow could easily suppress him. A terrifying demonic light flashed as Qin Wentian unleashed a monstrous amount of demonic qi, akin to an enraged Kirin roaring. The terrifying currents of energy in the air moved according to his will, blasting towards the white-robed female. This terrifying might was so great that even space itself seemed to be on the verge of shattering. If the white-robed female was struck by this attack, she would definitely be torn to shreds. The woman blasted out with her palms, similarly exuding a mysterious rhythm. With her at the center, the space around her seemed to be frozen. Everywhere her palms passed by, everything would be frozen solid. The icy wind gusted by, causing Qin Wentian to feel an intense sense of coldness. However, his fists were still as unstoppable as ever, like a hot knife cutting through butter. Roar! A terrifying roar erupted from his fist. The countenance of the white-robed female was as cold as ever, and that palm strike of hers was capable of freezing everything in front of her. Bang! Their attacks collided in the air as the ice-cold qi transformed into countless icicles, piercing towards Qin Wentian's body. A terrifying coldness was transmitted through his fist, directly into his body. Qin Wentian retreated as his left palm blasted outwards, shattering the icicle. However, the silhouette of the female didn't falter in the slightest. The terrifying coldness she emanated caused Qin Wentian to involuntarily shiver. Such a powerful attack was actually neutralized by her? An expression of shock appeared on Qin Wentian's face. The speed of the white-robed female was exceedingly fast. A pair of Garuda wings instantly appeared on Qin Wentian's back as he soared into the skies. The silhouette of the white-robed female spun in the air, dancing with the wind. Qin Wentian discovered that there seemed to be wind shadows surrounding her. Her lithe and graceful body was enveloped by a mysterious wind energy, causing her speed to increase even more. Her palms waved lightly as the mandate of ice and snow at the perfection boundary enveloped this entire space, freezing everything. A leaf that was fluttering in the air was instantly frozen into ice and snow. Qin Wentian's body was about to be buried within the ice and snow. My mandates are inferior to hers. Hence my mandates were sealed. If my mandates reached the perfection boundary and my dreams were stronger than hers, I would be able to force her into a deep slumber instead of being sealed in ice. Qin Wentian mused. Qin Wentian mused as towering sword qi gushed forth from his body. Swishing sounds rang out as the ice shattered. However, the white-robed female's silhouette had already appeared before him. With a flip of his palms, demonic qi erupted forth. Qin Wentian's eyes were like that of a demon as he stabbed out with his finger. Instantly, boundless amounts of demonic qi erupted forth, converging into a terrifying vortex that shot towards the white-robed female. The woman's expression changed slightly. She clasped her hands together and in an instant, her entire body was covered in ice and snow. It was as if her entire body had been frozen solid, transforming into a layer of ice and snow. The heaven-breaking finger landed on the ice armor, causing cracking sounds to ring out unceasingly. When the ice and snow were completely destroyed, the power of the heaven-breaking finger had also been exhausted. It was obvious that the woman's defensive ability was extremely strong. However, Qin Wentian's body had already descended. His Yuanfu trembled as the divine energy in his body erupted forth. This punch contained an overwhelming might. He believed that the white-robed female would be able to neutralize it with her cultivation base at the 8th level of Yuanfu. The white-robed female merely stared at Qin Wentian, watching as the terrifying attack descended upon her. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he released his mandate of dreams. Even now, he had no intentions of retreating. He wanted to see how strong his opponent was exactly. Bzz! A beam of light flashed by, akin to a gust of wind brushing past Qin Wentian's body, causing others to be unable to detect it. Pung! The terrifying might of the attack reverberated through the air. Yet Qin Wentian had an expression of shock on his face. His strongest attack had actually landed on nothing but air. He would rather his opponent had used a powerful technique to neutralize his attack. That would have made him feel better, because he actually couldn't even touch his opponent's body. Retracting his aura, Qin Wentian turned to the side, staring at the white-robed female as a bitter smile appeared on his face. Such a sense of defeat caused the excitement he felt during these past few days to instantly vanish. If his opponent had acted earlier, he would have already been defeated. The white-robed female hadn't even used her full strength yet. You are already very strong. My mandate of wind has already reached the perfection boundary of the first level, the white-robed female calmly stated. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. This was the suppression of mandates. A mandate at the perfection boundary had an absolute advantage against him. Even if his strength wasn't inferior to his opponents, and might even be stronger than hers, so what? The barbarian king had said that the mandate of force was an extremely powerful mandate. In truth, any mandate was extremely powerful, and the stronger one's cultivation base was, the stronger one would be. The mandate of ice and snow, using the power of ice to seal the movements of others, and the mandate of wind to instantly descend. Such a combination of mandates is truly terrifying. Qin Wentian murmured. The white-robed female replied. The combination of the mandates of anyone is extremely terrifying. If your mandate of dreams is able to gain the upper hand, causing others to fall into a deep slumber, in addition to the strength of your attacks, who would be able to block you? That's true. Many thanks for sparring with me. Qin Wentian didn't really care too much about victory or defeat. He smiled at the white-robed female. My name is Qin Wentian, I still don't know your name. The white-robed female stared at the smile on Qin Wentian's face as she lightly replied. Yunmangi? Little fellow, are you trying to woo beauties? At this moment, a voice abruptly drifted into his ears. Qin Wentian was startled, and as he turned his gaze over, a bright light flickered in his eyes. Not far away from him, an old man with messy hair and casual robes appeared on top of a boulder. The old man had a smile that was not a smile on his face as he stared at Qin Wentian, his eyes flickering with a hint of playfulness. Even with Qin Wentian's current perception, he had no idea when the other party had appeared. There was no movement at all. I'm leaving. Yunmangi glared at the old man before departing, causing Qin Wentian to be stunned. He then turned to the old man as he smiled. Senior, are you Yunmangi's master? What? You're eyeing me now? The old man's eyes narrowed into slits, exuding a treacherous aura. Qin Wentian was speechless. This old man was probably the one who didn't care about his image the most in the unmatched realm. He was even worse than the barbarian king. But with your strength, it's not enough to woo a girl. The words of the old man caused Qin Wentian to be completely speechless. He couldn't be bothered to refute. If senior has nothing else, this junior will take his leave first. Qin Wentian bowed to the old man before turning and departing, causing the old man to be stunned. Brat, don't regret it when you leave. The old man threatened him. Farewell. With his back facing the old man, Qin Wentian waved his hands as he quickened his pace. In the blink of an eye, he had already descended the mountain, causing the eyes of the old man to blink a few times. What are you looking at? All of you scram out here for your father. The old man suddenly scolded. Momentarily, several silhouettes appeared, staring at the old man with a smile in their eyes. Who dares to laugh again? The old man was enraged. Abruptly, the entire space around him froze. The smiles on the faces of those newcomers instantly turned awkward as they retracted their trembling hands. Yet in their hearts they were filled with disdain for this old man. He had been humiliated by a junior, yet he still wanted to vent his anger on them? Little barbarian, tell me, what do you think of this brat? The old man stood atop a boulder as he pointed to a muscular silhouette, exuding an air of authority. Every time the barbarian king heard this form of address, he would curse the old man in his heart 10,000 times. He, the barbarian king, was actually called Little Barbarian. Luckily, there were no juniors present, or he would definitely lose all his face. This brat's talent is barely passable. He only managed to pass several trials because of some fortuitous encounters. He definitely wouldn't be able to enter your eyes. Even if you wanted me to teach him, I wouldn't agree to it. The barbarian king spoke with a deadpan expression, his words causing the old man to roll his eyes. Scram, you better scram for me. Not a single word of truth came out of your mouth. Go, go, go. All of you are not allowed to speak carelessly about what happened today. Oh. The barbarian king and the others nodded their heads as they sped away. That old man sat atop the boulder, his beady eyes gleaming. It was unknown what he was thinking. Chapter 322. Qin Wentian arrived at the Dao cultivation mountain of the Arrow Emperor. Chu Mang stood at the side practicing his archery, while Qin Wentian was guiding a young lady in archery. This young lady was clad in a green dress, exuding an aura of innocence and vitality. She had a light smile on her face. She was extremely beautiful. "Senior brother Fan Lu, why don't you shoot the setting sun arrow once more for me to see?" The young lady smiled sweetly. "Sure." Fan Lu nodded. Without hesitation he nocked an arrow and shot it out. The setting sun arrow was so powerful that it seemed as though the sun itself was about to descend. 10 arrows shot out in a row, interlocking with each other as the power of the arrows stacked on top of each other. "Senior brother, you're so awesome." The young lady smiled. After which she turned her head, and when she saw Qin Wentian, an expression of curiosity appeared on her face. Qin Wentian scrutinized this young lady, and couldn't help but sigh in admiration in his heart. What a beautiful lass. This young lady gave off a surreal feeling, as though she was a girl from a dream. "Boss, this is Xian Xian, my junior apprentice sister. She's also proficient in archery." Fan Lu also noticed Qin Wentian as he smiled and introduced. "So you're Qin Wentian? I've been hearing your name ever since I came to the unmatched realm." Xian Xian winked at Qin Wentian. Her beauty caused people to feel extremely comfortable just looking at her. "Xian Xian." Qin Wentian smiled as he nodded. After which, he glanced at Fatty Fan Lu. The Arrow Emperor had accepted such a beautiful female disciple. This Fatty spring was about to arrive. "Oh yeah boss, you have something to discuss with Big Bro Chu Mang, right? In that case you guys can leave first. Xian Xian and I will cultivate for a while longer." Fan Lu continued, his words causing Qin Wentian to blink. This damnable Fatty, was he afraid that he and Chu Mang would be a hindrance to him? "Big Bro Chu Mang, let's go." Qin Wentian glared at Fan Lu before following Chu Mang away. Fan Lu smiled at Xian Xian. "Big Bro Chu Mang and Boss Qin Wentian are both extremely talented. They can be ranked at the very top in the unmatched realm, only slightly inferior to me." Chu Mang and Qin Wentian, who had yet to walk far, had black lines on their faces when they heard this. This damn Fatty, even if he wanted to show off, there was no need to drag the two of them down with him. "Didn't you say that Qin Wentian obtained the right to cultivate in the 36 mountains? Xian Xian's voice came from afar. He's always together with me. He's more all-round, but he's more specialized in one area. My talent lies in archery and my mental energy. If we were to talk about individual talents, I'm still slightly better than him." Fan Lu replied with a straight face. Qin Wentian and Chu Mang were completely defeated. Chu Mang returned to the Dao cultivation mountain where his master Qiao Long resided, while Qin Wentian found a cave dwelling to cultivate. However, just as he entered a trance, a whistling sound suddenly drifted out, extremely ear-piercing to the ears. The bone-chilling wind was as sharp as knives, causing Qin Wentian to shiver involuntarily. Opening his eyes, a sharp glint of sharpness flashed in his eyes, after which he saw a terrifying hurricane gushing towards him. "What's going on?" Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened. He abruptly stood up and dashed out of the cave dwelling. However, that terrifying hurricane directly slammed into his body, causing him to be unable to stand stably. Bzzz. The tyrannical wind slammed into him, causing Qin Wentian's body to be flung through the air. With a thunderous boom, he slammed violently into the wall, causing him to groan in agony. He felt as though his bones were about to shatter. Where did this strange wind come from? Qin Wentian's gaze froze as he stared outside. The wind was the most violent in the passageway ahead of him. There were also gusts of wind that seeped into the cave dwelling, but it wasn't as strong as the one in the passageway. Standing up, Qin Wentian's entire body was brimming with a tyrannical energy. He walked out step by step, but the instant he stepped into the passageway, the raging wind slammed into his body, causing him to be unable to open his eyes. Boom! Taking another step forward, his foot landed on the ground with great difficulty. His body was once again flung into the air, slamming into the wall of the cave with extreme speed. "Who's there?" Qin Wentian roared. It was impossible for a demonic wind to appear here for no reason. There must be someone there. Taking a step forward, he soared up into the air and punched out with all his might. The cave trembled violently, yet not a single piece of stone cracked. It was as though the stone walls of the cave had transformed into the toughest of ancient stones, unable to be penetrated. Not even a single tremor could be felt. Qin Wentian tried a few more places, but in the end he was completely dumbfounded. He was trapped. Someone had trapped him inside the cave dwelling. The demonic wind buffeted against his body, causing him to feel exceptionally cold. Qin Wentian stared at the passageway ahead of him, which wasn't very long. I don't believe it. Qin Wentian's blood thrummed as the astral energy in his body surged violently. Releasing his will of the mandate of force, demonic qi filled the air. His body transformed into a Garuda as he abruptly dashed out of the passageway. Busy. His silhouette was like a bolt of lightning as he dashed into the whirlwind. However, he only managed to traverse a third of the passageway before he found himself unable to advance any further. This time around, because he had used too much strength, the speed at which he was flung back was even faster. When he slammed into the wall of the cave, he involuntarily coughed out a mouthful of blood as his internal organs shuddered violently. Qin Wentian climbed to his feet once more, and tried many more times. Gradually, despair filled his heart. He couldn't exit the passageway, and was trapped within the cave dwelling. Not only that, the demonic wind gradually permeated the interior of the cave, growing stronger and stronger. I can't do this. If I still can't restrain this wind, I will definitely be tortured to death in here. Qin Wentian's countenance turned ashen. His strength was still not strong enough. He fell again and again, and after 3 days, Qin Wentian no longer had the slightest bit of temper left in him. He didn't even know how many mouthfuls of blood he had coughed out. If it wasn't for his powerful physique and bloodline, he would already be half dead by now. Who did this? Qin Wentian was speechless in his heart. Within the cave dwelling, the sounds of impact rang out unceasingly. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Qin Wentian was finally able to endure the wind for a short period of time. His strength circulated throughout his entire body, and his mandate of demons transformed his body, allowing him to enter his strongest state. But even so, he still had no way to exit the cave. And now the wind was everywhere. Right now, Qin Wentian's body was glued to the wall. It wasn't that he wanted to stick to the wall, but rather he was stuck to the wall by the wind. His countenance was as pale as paper, and he looked much more haggard than before. Thousands of times Qin Wentian coughed out blood in the wind. In his heart, he had already cursed the person who caused the wind to enter. If his curses were fulfilled, it was unknown how many times that person would have died. In the outside world, on top of an ancient tree outside the cave, an old man who was lying there yawned. His body flipped over as though he was in deep sleep. At this moment, an illusory figure lunged towards him. However, the old man merely blew a breath of air, causing the illusory figure to tumble in the air and be blown away. Roar! The eyes of Little Rascal, which had transformed into a ferocious beast, gleamed with a golden light as it stared at the old man. However, the old man completely ignored it, continuing to sleep. There are too few elders like me who are willing to guide their juniors. Kind-hearted people are always misunderstood by others. The old man mumbled to himself. Upon hearing his words, Little Rascal bared its fangs as a ferocious expression appeared on its face. If Qin Wentian were to hear the words of this kind-hearted old man, he would definitely be so angered that he would cough out a few more mouthfuls of blood. A month passed. Qin Wentian was tormented for an entire month. He didn't know how many times his bones were broken and how much blood he coughed out. The amount of blood he coughed out was sufficient for Little Rascal to use for an entire year. Many people in the outside world said that Qin Wentian had gone into hiding, not daring to show his face in front of others. His silhouette disappeared from the Taoist mountains as well. 2 months later, within the quiet cave, the sound of the wind could still be heard. Finally, a figure staggered out, only to see that the moment he exited the cave, he plopped down on the ground. His robes and hair were in a complete mess. He was in no mood to tidy himself up. Qin Wentian, who was lying on the ground, stared fixedly at the old man sleeping on the ancient tree in front of him. His eyes seemed capable of killing. Revenge, this was undisguised revenge. As the peerless old man, this old man actually wanted to take revenge on him. Who's cursing me? The old man's body twitched as he opened his eyes. When he saw Qin Wentian glaring at him, his eyes narrowed as he laughed. You don't have to thank me. I'm such a kind-hearted person. I don't seek repayment for my actions. Junior will definitely repay Senior if there's a chance. Qin Wentian gritted his teeth. No need, no need. The old man sat up. His body trembled as he slowly walked away. He didn't forget to wave his hands as he spoke. Harmonize as one, strength at the perfection boundary. After the matter is settled, I will brush my robes and leave, concealing my strength and fame. After the matter is settled, I will brush my robes and leave, concealing my strength and fame. When Qin Wentian heard this, he wanted nothing more than to give the old man a good beating. However, it was obvious that he wasn't a match for the old man. Most probably, the old man could blast him off the mountain with just a wave of his hand. Harmonize as one, strength at the perfection boundary? Qin Wentian's heart pounded as his gaze froze on the old man. His mandate of force, perfection boundary. So that's how it was. If he wanted to exit, he had to achieve a state where he could circulate his strength throughout his entire body. Only then would he be able to resist the demonic wind. After repeated attempts, he finally managed to achieve a state where his mandate of force broke through to the perfection boundary. Damned old man, don't land in my hands. Qin Wentian had a bitter smile on his face. Such a breakthrough was simply too tyrannical. Only an old man like him would be able to think of something like this. If he hadn't reached the perfection boundary, he would have died sooner or later. Qin Wentian closed his eyes and just like that, he lay down on the ground and fell into a deep sleep. This sleep lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. It was too comfortable. Qin Wentian didn't even want to wake up. Currently, it had already been half a year since Qin Wentian arrived in the Azure continent. Over the past 6 months, his strength had been constantly changing, and the others were also constantly improving. Ouyang Quangxing had already stepped into the 7th level of Yuanfu. Wang Xiao was the same as well, advancing to the upper 3 levels of Yuanfu. Not only them, the people of the unmatched realm and the 9 continents were all improving as well. They were all cultivating in different places, in different clans, in different life and death situations, or even in secret realms. To those true geniuses, none of them were willing to waste time. Sometimes, a single step late could mean the difference between life and death. Currently, many of the geniuses in the 9 continents were already heading towards the Ginkgo continent. There were also some who still hoped to grow stronger. Only then would they have a chance to stand out amongst the geniuses. Chapter 323. During the period of time that Qin Wentian was trapped in the cavern, a major event occurred in the unmatched realm. Fatty had fallen in love. If it was merely Fatty falling in love, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the problem was that Fatty was in love with Xian Xian. Her identity was actually the little princess of the Mystic Maiden Palace. This matter was too big. Fatty was in big trouble now. The Mystic Maiden Palace was different from many other powers. They only accepted female disciples, and only those with the highest talent would have the qualifications to become a direct descendant of the unmatched realm. The little princess of the Mystic Maiden Palace, Xian Xian, was one of them. At this moment in the unmatched realm, a group of silhouettes had gathered together. Many people were observing from all directions, including those from the Mystic Maiden Palace. Their countenances were all ice cold, their countenances ashen. Among them were Wang Zhao's girlfriend Qiao Xian, as well as Lu Shi, who was violently beaten up by Qin Wentian. Although they would usually be jealous of Xian Xian, right now, only rage could be seen on their faces as they stared coldly at the chubby figure in front of them. Fatty Fan Lu, Qin Wentian's friend. Xian Xian, come over here. In the center of the Mystic Maiden Palace was Li Shiyu. She had a cultivation base at the 8th level of Yuanfu, and was a heaven's chosen of the Mystic Maiden Palace. But even someone as outstanding as her couldn't obtain the status of a princess. Sister Shiyu, the two of us are truly in love with each other. Xian Xian stared at those from the Mystic Maiden Palace, feeling a little afraid. Xian Xian, don't be fooled by the flowery words of this fatty. Li Shiyu coldly replied. Come over here first. Forget it, Sister Shiyu. Xian Xian held on to Fan Li's hand, feeling a little afraid. Fan Lu tightly held onto her dainty hand as he straightened his slightly chubby chest. This was originally an extremely courageous action, but when he did it, it caused the spectators to have the urge to laugh out loud. How could a beautiful flower be spoiled? How could Xian Xian possibly like this fatty? This caused them, who had always thought of themselves as suave and handsome, to be unable to accept this fact. I will take Xian Xian as my wife, Fan Lu seriously stated. This time around he was truly in love with this innocent and radiant lass. Xian Xian was extremely intelligent, and although she knew that he was boasting, she didn't expose him. She would only stand at the side and laugh happily. You want to take Xian Xian as your wife? Who do you think you are? In your dreams. Li Xiu coldly stared at Fan Lu. Do you know who Xian Xian is? You don't know what's good for you. You actually want to curry favor with someone powerful. Lin Haotian crossed his arms in front of his chest as he coldly spoke. The females of the Mystic Maiden Palace had always been the target of the geniuses of the Azure continent. Who would have thought that this fatty would actually be able to capture the heart of the little princess? Li Xiu in the unmatched realm, there's nothing you can do to him. If he truly likes the little princess, give him a chance and ask him if he dares to follow you to the Mystic Maiden Palace. Another voice rang out. Yu Bingying had a faint smile on her face. She had already given the order to search for Qin Wentian for quite a few days, but to no avail. Qin Wentian had always been hiding from her. She heard that Qin Wentian was a good friend of Qin Wentian. If anything happened to Qin Wentian would definitely appear. Yes, Xian Xian. Since you said that he likes you, why don't you ask him if he dares to follow you back to the Mystic Maiden Palace? Li Xiu spoke to Xian Xian. Yet her gaze was fixed on Fan Lu. Xian Xian shook her head. No, I won't let him go. You. Li Xiu's beautiful eyes froze, her countenance extremely unsightly to behold. Oi Li Xiu, I feel that my friend and Xian Xian are quite compatible. How did he sully you? It's not like he wants you. A carefree laughter rang out. Li Xiu turned her gaze over, staring at a few silhouettes not far away from Fan Lu. Ouyang Guangxing appeared there, and the words spoken earlier came from his mouth. Ouyang Guangxing, don't think that I won't dare to touch you just because you're from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Li Xiu coldly spoke. Did I hit the nail on the head? You're so anxious that no one would want you. My friend Chu Mang, his talent is extremely high. He should be a good match for you. Do you want to consider him? Ouyang Guangxing pointed to Chu Mang beside him as he teased, causing Chu Mang to glance at Li Xiu as he replied in a low voice, I don't want her. As the sound of Chu Mang's voice faded, the eyes of the crowd froze. Even Ouyang Guangxing was stunned by those few simple words. After which, he started laughing uproariously. Chu Mang was simply too adorable. Upon seeing Li Xiu's countenance gradually turning unsightly, the spectators couldn't help but perspire. Chu Mang's words made it sound as though he didn't want Li Xiu even if she was a gift to him. All of you are very good. A cold intent gushed forth from Li Xiu. Momentarily, the few maidens from the Mystic Maiden Palace all exuded an oppressive might, causing the spectators to disperse. Ouyang Guangxing furrowed his brows. They wanted to start a war? It seemed that his side was at a disadvantage. Li Xiu's cultivation base was at the 8th level of Yuanfu, while Chu Mang's cultivation base was at the peak of the 7th level. Not only that, he himself had only broken through to the 7th level not too long ago. Over on the side of the Mystic Maiden Palace, Lu Shi was also at the 7th level. As for the other 3 maidens, one was at the 7th level while the other 2 were at the 6th level. The majority of the young geniuses who came to the unmatched realm were at the middle or upper 3 levels of Yuanfu. After breaking through to the Heavenly Dipper realm, many of them would leave the unmatched realm. It was impossible for them to stay here forever. After breaking through to the Heavenly Dipper realm, the benefits that the unmatched realm provided to them would gradually diminish. Hence, the number of Heavenly Dipper sovereigns in the unmatched realm was far less than Yuanfu. At this moment, on the side of the Mystic Maiden Palace, there were a total of 5. 1 at the 8th level, 2 at the 7th level, and 2 at the 6th level. On their side, other than Xian Xian, there were 3 others. 2 at the 7th level and 1 at the 6th level. Evidently, they were the weaker side. If they were to fight, they would definitely lose. There were still a few people from the Ouyang aristocrat clan present. One of them was Ouyang Ting. Duan Qingshan had already broken through to Heavenly Dipper, while she remained in the unmatched realm to cultivate. Currently, her cultivation base was already at the 6th level of Yuanfu. Other than Ouyang Ting, there were still some others present. However, they wouldn't act. Ouyang Quangxing was merely helping an outsider. It had nothing to do with the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Ouyang Quangxing would settle this himself. From afar, a man and a demonic beast soared through the air. When they saw the crowd gathered here, they couldn't help but be stunned. That person was none other than Qin Wentian. He saw that in the middle of the crowd it was actually Fan Lu, Ouyang Quangxing, and the others. It seemed that they were in a standoff with another group of people. What's going on? Quickening his steps, Qin Wentian's silhouette was like the wind, moving towards the direction of the crowd. Many in the crowd turned their gazes over when they heard his voice. Qin Wentian, he had finally appeared. Many in the crowd turned their gazes onto Yu Bingying. She had been looking for Qin Wentian for quite some time now, but Qin Wentian had always ignored her. Although she had always thought that he was avoiding her, but since Qin Wentian hadn't appeared from the start till now, it could also be understood that he was ignoring her. You little fellow, you're finally willing to show yourself. Ouyang Quangxing hadn't seen Qin Wentian for a long time, and he couldn't help but smile upon seeing Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stood in the air, yet his path forward was blocked by a few silhouettes from the Sword Extinction sect. Lin Haoyan stepped out, staring at Qin Wentian. Back then, when he went to the place where the ocean waves intersected, he told Qin Wentian that someone wanted to see him. However, Qin Wentian angrily told him to scram. During that period of time, Qin Wentian had always been hiding within the divine inscriptions. Now he had finally appeared. You finally dared to come out. Lin Haoyan's countenance was akin to a sharp sword, piercing towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian glanced at him. This person was none other than the person who had interrupted his cultivation back then. According to Kenglin, this person should be someone from the Sword Extinction sect who ran errands for Situpa. Fatty, did you cause trouble? Qin Wentian merely glanced at Lin Haoyan before shifting his gaze onto Fan Lu. He also saw Fan Lu holding onto Xian Xian's hand, and couldn't help but to curse in his heart. This damnable fatty was truly a genius, to think that he would actually succeed in wooing Xian Xian. Qin Wentian was already praying for Xian Xian in his heart. How could this adorable young lady endure this shameless fatty? Me and Xian Xian are in love with each other. Is this also called causing trouble? Fan Lu shamelessly continued, however, Xian Xian. She is the little princess of the Mystic Maiden Palace. I didn't know this before. Fatty's lips curled up in an expression of arrogance. He, Fatty, was the little princess of the Mystic Maiden Palace. Fine. Qin Wentian instantly understood what was going on, and his admiration for Fatty grew even more intense. However, it seems like I'm not the only one who caused trouble. Fan Lu glanced at Lin Haoyan, who was blocking Qin Wentian's path. This person was rumored to be an extremely powerful character, a heaven's chosen of the Sword Extinction sect. It was only because of Situpo's presence that Lin Haoyan's radiance wasn't as dazzling as before. You better think about yourself first. How should we resolve the matter between us? Lin Haoyan's voice was like a sharp sword, directed at Qin Wentian. Back then you told me to scram. Now tell me, how should we resolve this? Indeed, it's time to resolve the matter between us. Qin Wentian nodded his head in agreement. Interrupting his cultivation, and even taking the initiative to settle the debt with him? In the world of cultivation, the strength of one's martial prowess determined who was right and who was wrong. Tell me, how should we resolve this? Qin Wentian stared at Lin Haoyan as he asked. Lin Haoyan's gaze shifted onto Yu Bingying, who was not far away. Qin Wentian followed his gaze and instantly recalled who Yu Bingying was. She was a maiden from the Azure Emperor Palace. Maybe in the future he would have to meet her again. After all, when he grew stronger, he would definitely reorganize the hidden Azure faction and seize back the true Azure Emperor Palace. You guys test him first, see if he has the qualifications to spar. If he doesn't, you can settle it yourself. Yu Bingying casually stated. In truth, the reason why she wanted to meet with Qin Wentian was purely out of curiosity. She wanted to see if this person who obtained the authority to cultivate the 36 halls was as outstanding as Situpu. However, Qin Wentian actually refused to meet with her. Spar. Qin Wentian laughed. Yu Bingying really overestimated herself. If she wanted him to spar, he would have to appear? The sword light flashed as the two experts from the Sword Extinction sect made their moves. At the same time, Lin Haoyan unsheathed his sword as sword qi gushed forth from him. He knew that it was impossible for the other two to defeat Qin Wentian. Back then, Qin Wentian had already defeated Lu Shi, who was at the 6th level of Yuanfu. Two beams of cold light shot towards Qin Wentian, but just as they were about to land on Qin Wentian, a crisp sound rang out. The crowd inclined their heads, only to see the two experts from the Sword Extinction sect hovering in the air. Their swords were held by Qin Wentian with his bare hands, using his bare hands to grasp the edge of the sword. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.